help me get my music put out.
A reverend with the almighty connection.
We have a lot of local gospel artists.
Sort of like an agent.
Yes, ma'am.
A holy bond broken.
He stole your equipment.
Yes, ma'am.
He said that the Lord said he wanted to donate them equipment to the ministry.
What?
I take that very seriously when somebody said the Lord said.
Judge Judy.
I want you to take this loss.
35-year-old homemaker, Lachey Bowden, is suing her ex-boyfriend's girlfriend, customer service rep Teresa Lenore, for firebombing her car. Teresa denies the charge.
Yeah, this is case number 212 on the calendar in the matter of Bowden versus Lenore. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks have seats.
Officer Bird, would you find out if this gentleman has a medical condition that requires him to have that thing around his head?
Looks like the answer is no.
Thank you very much. It is your claim that the defendant firebombed your car and also cut the wires to your satellite television all over some guy. The defendant says she did no such thing and you're really crazy. I assume this is somebody that you are either with or used to be with, is that right?
Used to be with.
And what's that person's name?
Deontay Crenshaw.
Deontay?
Uh-huh.
Is that person here today?
Mm-hmm. He's over there.
The person with the medical condition?
Yes.
When were you with this gentleman?
Up until she set the car on fire.
And when was that?
June 10th.
Of 2003?
Mm-hmm.
And is that the same date that your satellite dish wires were cut?
Yes.
Now, when was he your boyfriend?
He's always been my boyfriend. She was not with him. We lived together. We've been together since '98.
Are you employed?
Yes, I am.
What do you do for a living?
Account rep at AT&T.
And you?
I lost my job due to her setting the car on fire because I wasn't able to go to work.
So you're not employed now?
No.
What does he do?
He works at Motel 6.
Doing what?
He's head of housekeeping.
What makes you think that she firebombed your car and did all of these other things to your house?
Okay. The car was set on fire Monday night. Sunday, she popped up on my front porch. I don't know how.
She came to your front porch?
Yes. I don't know how she got my address, but she popped up on my front porch. She was trying to plead her case about him and her, whatever.
So you spoke to her directly?
Yes.
That must have been June 9th.
No, you're
June 8th.
June 8th?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the right day, June 8th?
June 8th.
So June 8th, she came to your house.
Mm-hmm.
And what did she say to you?
She never said her name. She said, I'm Deontay's baby mama.
I'm Deontay's baby's mama.
Yep, that's what
No,
she said.
that's not
That's
true,
what
Your
she
Honor.
said.
You're going to have to turn it in.
That's fine.
And why are you bothering with him?
Huh.
Pretty much.
Yeah, uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
And you said?
I said, okay, I have nothing to do with your relationship between you and him. We have our own thing, whatever, and that's that.
So that was June 8th.
Mm-hmm.
What happened on June 9th?
June 9th, she was calling, and so when I answered the phone, she said, put Deontay on the phone.
Okay, so she wanted to speak to Deontay.
Mm-hmm.
Did you call her house?
No.
Okay, so
I personally went to her house Sunday.
He was at your house?
Mm-hmm.
In the middle of the night. Mm-hmm. So he was sleeping there. Mm-hmm. Why were you sleeping at her house?
Because I was over her house. I was sleeping. I was over there.
Shh, shh. I don't want to hear anything. Stand up. What were you doing over at her house instead of being at home with Miss Lenore and your son?
I was over her house cheating.
Well, actually, I had put him out this Sunday.
Yeah, we wasn't together.
Yeah, so I had put him out Sunday.
Why did you put him out Sunday?
Because the phone calls started coming and I kept telling him, you know, this female keeps calling my house saying she's sleeping with you. If I find out it's true, you know, I don't have any proof, so I'm going to leave it alone. Sunday, I received a call, I'm sleeping with your man. I took the number off caller ID. I called 411, got the address. I went to her house because my friend stayed down the street. And I told her, look, he's not going to be there anymore. No need for you to call me. I don't need him. I work such and such. I don't need a man to take care of me.
You especially don't need him.
Exactly. So after I confronted her, she said, me and him has this. And I said, well, you know, if you don't mind sleeping with somebody else's man, that's you. But he's no longer going to be with me. So
leave me alone.
Yeah, and I said, he can come live with you now. And that's what I told her.
Now I'd like to hear the proof that you have that the defendant firebombed your car.
I have pictures of the car, And
I'll take a
also-
look at the pictures. The pictures are one thing. What proof do you have that she did it?
She also told me she did it also because she was calling my house.
That's not true.
She was calling my house.
Or she's not. I don't believe she told you she did it.
Exactly.
I have a witness right here, my next door neighbor.
Which witness do you have?
Eric. He didn't actually see her set the
Eric,
fire.
you want to stand up here?
Yes,
Eric, in your shorts. You thought you were going to a basketball game today. Come up here. Move over there, Eric. Would you post photographs for me, please?
Sure.
Can I say something?
No, I want to hear Eric. And Eric, you're a neighbor?
Yes, I'm a neighbor.
And this firebombing happened in the middle of the night?
Well, on that day, I was doing some drywall for my brother. I do, drywall and lay. I was doing his house. It was like about 2:30 at night. When I happened to go in the back, I seen the young lady out there slicing the tires. So I'm just looking at it, and I'm figuring that it's probably just she ain't got mad at her boyfriend or something, and just cutting the tires. So I'm just standing up there looking at it. So she looked at me, I looked at her, and she went on back down the alley. So I proceeded to keep working. So I figured I was going to go on there and just close up that night. So I went back on the front. I see her tan car parked across the street right there. I'm just standing on the porch. And she kind of like looked and kind of sit in her car for a minute. And then she drove off, but I never seen her no more.
So you didn't see her firebomb the car?
No, I didn't see her firebomb come.
Good. Thank you. Sit down.
Your Honor, can I say something, please? Okay.
I'd like your next witness.
This is my roommate. She was there when she popped up on the front. I never called this woman's house or anything like that.
Is there something you're not understanding? I would like you to bring on a witness who saw her firebomb your car. You have anything to contribute to this case at all, or yes or no? The answer is yes or no.
Yes.
Do it fast.
The morning the car that was on fire, my cousin, Lachey, came and woke me up, and I walked up on the back porch. I seen her and Deontay sitting on the back porch looking at the car. He apologizing to my cousin about how his baby mama set the car on fire and what she did or whatever, saying that he was going to help my cousin pay for the car and everything, which he didn't.
Is that right?
I told her I apologized for the car being burnt. What happened to her mama car?
Could you speak slowly so that I could understand this, please? You apologize to who for what?
I apologized to her for her mama car being burnt. I shouldn't apologize if it's supposed to be all over me.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Possible somebody else could have firebombed your car. I don't know how many people he was with. How many people were you with, Deontay?
10.
What?
Just them two.
Nah.
And later today,
It's your claim that Mr. Turner stole your equipment.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I say something, please? The Lord said that he wanted to donate them equipment to the ministry.
Very good.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lachey Bowden says the mother of her ex-boyfriend's child, Teresa Lenore, firebombed her car.
Is he still living with you?
Not really, no. He keeps our son every day. He comes to my house and keeps him every day while I'm at work.
When does he work?
He works at night and on weekends.
So then, it wasn't true when you said to her that he's not going to be at your house anymore, don't bother to come over, because he is there every day.
Well, not living. That's what I was trying to tell her. You don't have to call to see if he's there, you know.
Where does he live?
At his mom.
So is what you're telling me, you don't have an intimate relationship anymore?
Not anymore, no.
Is that right?
Correct.
Well, Deontay has to be with somebody. And I don't know how many people he was with. He could have been with her. How many people were you with, Deontay?
10.
What?
Just them two.
Nah. It's possible somebody else could have firebombed your car.
No, it was only her. She kept calling and everything. She called my house when he comes to her house. After he leave my house, he goes to her house. She calls me tomorrow, Deontay is here. Then she was hollering him in the background stating, you made me do it. You shouldn't have lied. You made me do it. You shouldn't have lied. She wouldn't have said it if she wouldn't have done it.
Your Honor, can I speak, please?
Yes.
She's lying. There's no way. If I'm going to do something, which is so stupid, I wouldn't tell her that I've done it.
Miss Lenore, you appear to be an intelligent young woman. The only unintelligent thing that I know about you is him. I don't understand why someone who holds a responsible position, maintains themselves, takes care of their children, why they would do something so crazy as to commit arson, which is really what this is. Because what you're accusing her of is really a criminal act. And I assume you filed a police report.
I have copies.
I would like to see the police report that you filed and their follow-up.
And also, it's my mother's car, and she's still paying on that car.
Stand up here. You. Sit down. You, up here. How long have you known the plaintiff?
Well, I don't really know her.
You knew her enough to come to court with her, is that
Yeah,
right?
somebody told me that she wanted to, talk to me.
Okay. Now, when did you tell somebody for the first time that you had witnessed somebody slashing her tires?
She had came to me and said, asked me what my name and stuff like this. I need to talk to you. I'm like,
When?
It was the next day.
Well, this police report is interesting because the police report said that they canvassed the entire area for suspects and witnesses to no avail.
He doesn't live at
I
the
don't live
apartment next
there.
door. He works on
You
the
don't have
apartment
to
next
live
door.
there. You call the police and you say, I have a witness.
Right. I didn't know he said anything when I called the police.
Your Honor, can I say something?
Go ahead.
We went to the police department, and they said, this so-called witness that you say you have, if he's not, a good witness, you all are going to get in trouble for falsifying information. They asked for proof of was she harassing me. She told them I was doing all these things to her. She had no proof. They listened to my answer machine, which I tried to save. It erases after 15 days. They heard all of these threats on my answer machine from her. That day, she was held at jail. They released me. They said she had no proof. I would not do it.
Well, I don't believe that there's sufficient proof to establish to my satisfaction in any event the allegations that you make against the defendant, that she firebombed your car, that she cut the wires on your satellite dish. It's possible that she did it. It's also possible that he's got a string of girlfriends that you know absolutely nothing about who are just as annoyed as she was. In any event, you sound to me, Madam, Miss Lenore, as if you deserve better. I don't know if you're going to look for better, but it sounds to me like you deserve somebody who is at least prepared to act responsibly. That's not him. The case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I think she got it basically where she deserved, which was nothing. I didn't do it, and I'm just glad it's over with.
This is not going to end. This is not going to end. She steady harassing me about this man. There's a problem. There's something wrong with her.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of O'Neill versus Turner. Step forward, please.
22-year-old warehouse worker Larry O'Neill is suing his former pastor, Bishop Kendrick Turner, for the return of his music equipment. Kendrick says Larry donated the items to the church.
Mr. O'Neill, according to what I read in your complaint, you joined the defendant's church. What kind of church was that?
It was Joe's Outreach Temple.
And did they have a formal place in which they worshipped?
Yes, they worshipped in a building, and then they moved into their house.
You mean their house where they lived?
Yes.
And you had some musical equipment
Yes, ma'am.
that you used and allowed the church to use.
Yes, ma'am.
When you decided to leave the church, you wanted your equipment back, and it's your claim that Mr. Turner stole your equipment. Mr. Turner says that you made a donation to the church, and you can't have it back. What brought you to the defendant's church?
He told me that he was helping people out with music to do music, gospel music, and I was doing gospel music at the time, and I decided to join his church for him to help me get my music put out, and he told me that he would help me with my music career.
So he's a preacher and an entrepreneur. Do you help people with their music career, sir?
I'm not going to say entrepreneur, but what I do is I help a lot of local gospel artists get out there.
When you say get out there, you mean get out there and
yes,
earn money?
Yes, ma'am.
Being sort of like an agent.
Yes, ma'am.
Where did you get the equipment from, Mr. Turner?
From his house, because he said that the Lord said that he wanted to donate them equipment to the ministry.
Okay. Now, when did he say that, sir?
It was 2003. It had to be in January, ma'am.
Are you a non-for-profit organization?
Yes, we are. We're tax exempt. And
as of when?
As of when, I do not have that.
Give me a year.
It was last year, 2002, when the church started.
And you operate this church out of the house where you live?
Ma'am, we originally...
Just answer my question.
Yes, ma'am.
How large a house is it? What are you looking it up for? You live there.
I'm not sure about the size, ma'am.
How many bedrooms does it have?
We have 2 bedrooms, yes, ma'am.
And the church operates out of what room?
Out of the front room, ma'am.
Now, where do you do your agenting?
What I do is I normally run ads and stuff in the paper, and I allow people to come to my home.
So you do both your agenting work, sir, and your ministry work out of the front room in your house, in
Yes,
your
ma'am.
2-bedroom house?
Yes, ma'am.
When was it that Mr. O'Neill made the donation? January of 2003?
Yes, ma'am.
And when was it that Mr. O'Neill...
It wasn't January.
Well, step up and tell me what date it was. You're his wife, so you probably have a better memory.
It was, because I keep the records, it was January when he came into the ministry, but it was around April. It was a couple of months after that.
So it was April that he made the donation.
Right.
Thank you.
Around the end
Sit
of
down.
March.
And when was it, Mr. Turner, that Mr. O'Neill asked for his property back?
It was just recently ago.
So that would have been about a month later.
Yes, ma'am.
1 month later, he asked for it back.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, why, Mr. O'Neill, did you ask for your equipment back, sir?
Because it belongs to me.
And you were no longer interested in being part of the ministry?
Yes, ma'am.
How old are you, Mr. O'Neill?
22 years old.
Have you ever been under psychiatric care?
I have supposed to been going for medical treatment.
What kind of medical treatment, Mr. O'Neill?
For a psychiatric problem.
Are you currently taking any medication?
No, ma'am.
How you doing? Are you doing okay?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty fine.
Are you living with your parents?
I'm about to start. I just moved out on my own, and my parents, I think they want me to stay with them, so I might stay back home with them.
Okay. You're his father? Yes. Would you step up here for a second, Mr. O'Neill?
Baby, go ahead.
Who purchased this musical equipment for him?
Well, we all purchased it together, but it was his equipment. And actually, when it left my home, I had no knowledge that it left.
When are you planning on having your son come home to live with you?
He's been home for the last 3 weeks right now. I have an appointment for him for psychiatric help on the 10th of this month.
Okay.
And I have him close to home.
Very good. I'm glad to hear that. Mr. Turner, I want you to listen to me very, very carefully,
Yes,
sir.
ma'am.
3 days from today, Mr. O'Neill and his son are coming to pick up all of his musical equipment. You will have it all ready for them. Do you understand me?
Yes, ma'am. I have no problem with that, ma'am.
Very good. I am not suggesting that you took advantage of Mr. O'Neill, and certainly someone who is a minister would not want to take advantage of someone who was not necessarily in a psychological position to make a gift. Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good.
Can I say something, please? Because I think I do not have the right to give that back because he said the Lord. Hold it. He said that the Lord said. You know, I take that very seriously when somebody said the Lord said. You know.
I want you to take this more seriously, Mr. Turner. I say that you're supposed to return it 3 days from today. Do we understand each other?
I have no problem.
Good.
With that.
That's all.
Parties are excused and they step out.
I decided to leave the church because I didn't like the way the bishop was treating me.
Mr. O'Neill said the Lord said that he's going to donate all the equipment over to the ministry.
He was making me feel uncomfortable.
I have witnesses that he said it to all the membership.
I felt in my spirit that it was right for me to lend the equipment to the church.
If he changed his mind, that's all he had to say.
Definitely was some manipulation, but you know, like he said, his spirit, you know, that's what he went with.
If you change your mind, you say God have to deal with you on that.
I think this is outstanding that we can come into a courthouse and justice be served.
The Bible said obey the laws of the land, so I have to obey the laws of the land.
I'm very proud of you, son, and I'm glad the outcome was the outcome it came.
I told him to stay away. I came home from work and I found him in my apartment.
What were these teens doing in her home?
If you go there, you are trespassing.
Mrs. Eagle's not telling the truth. He wasn't at her home. He was home with me, Your Honor.
I don't believe that.
And what these moms discovered, they didn't expect.
What did you tell Mrs. Eagles that Matthew was involved with?
Judge Judy.
Think. Look at me.
Vocational specialist Rayetta Calderon is suing the mother of her son's friend, medical assistant Sharon Eagles. Rayetta claims Sharon had her son falsely arrested for trespassing.
Yeah, this is case number 199 on the calendar in the matter of Calderon versus Eagles. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, gentlemen. Have seats.
Ms. Calderon, it is your claim that the defendant had your son falsely arrested.
Yes.
And you want all kinds of damages. Ms. Eagles says in her response that your son is a bad influence on her boy. She didn't want him in her home. He violated a direction by the police to stay out of her home. She had an absolute right to have him arrested for trespass because he was told to stay out of her home. That's your defense.
Correct.
Is that right?
Yes.
Which boys are they?
My son Matthew.
Matthew. Step up. And which is your boy?
Devin.
Devin. I'm going to start with you, Miss Eagles.
Okay.
What's wrong with him?
Well, I do not like some of the things that Matthew does.
How do you know about these things?
Because my son has been hanging out with him for quite some time, and I...
Well, tell me about how long they've been hanging out together, and how do you know it's Matthew that's the cause of the trouble?
Well, they've been hanging around each other for, I'm going to say, approximately 4 years, 5 years.
Okay.
And I know that whenever Devin was around him, he would just turn into something that I could not control. He would be obnoxious to me.
You mean your son?
Yes. I knew that Matthew was involved with drugs, and I'm trying to keep my son from being involved in such garbage, and that's why I know.
How did you know that Matthew was involved with drugs?
Well, I know on one occasion, Kevin told me that Matthew had drugs.
Who's Kevin?
Kevin is right here.
Kevin, do you have a last name?
Blair.
Kevin, how do you know these people?
Devin's my friend. That's his mom, and that's Matt and his mom.
Well, I know who the players are.
Yeah.
I asked you how you knew them. Devin is your friend. What about Matthew?
Was my friend.
Did you ever tell Mrs. Eagles that Matthew was using drugs?
Yeah.
When did you tell her that?
I'm not exactly sure when. It was a while ago.
Give me a year. Was it this year?
Yeah, I think it was this year.
I want you to try yes.
Yes.
What kind of drugs did you tell Mrs. Eagles that Matthew was involved with?
Cocaine.
And how did you know that?
Because I've seen him with it before.
Look at me. Because you've seen him with it when?
Previous to that.
Did he sell it?
No, I just seen him with it.
Tell me about the time that you saw him with it. Look at me.
All right. We were...
You don't like my Jack Nicholson? Go ahead.
I don't know. I've seen him with it. I'm not exactly sure when.
Do you use drugs regularly?
No.
Do you use cocaine regularly?
No.
Do you ever use cocaine?
No.
Did you ever try cocaine?
No.
So it was really an unusual occurrence when you saw Matthew with cocaine, right?
Yes.
Then I want you to tell me when it was. Tell me the circumstances, because after you saw him with the cocaine one time, you told Mrs. Eagles, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then, think. I want you to put on your thinking cap. Think. Oh, we may have to wait a while.
I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure when I remember seeing him have it.
I didn't ask you when. I asked you to tell me the story about it. Were you in school? Were you at home? Were you in the street? Were you at a party?
Oh, we were at a party.
Who was at the party?
Matt, me, Devin, a whole bunch of other people.
Fine. And tell me exactly what you saw Matthew do with the cocaine.
I seen him...
Look.
I seen him pull it out and play with it.
How was it packaged?
In a little bag.
He pulled it out of where? His pocket?
Yeah.
And what did he do with it?
He just looked at it. It was never... He didn't, like, pull it out of the bag or anything.
Did he say anything?
It was like, I got some coke.
You didn't see him do anything with it?
No.
And then he put it back in his pocket?
Mm-hmm.
And didn't use it during the course of the party?
Well, not that I remember seeing.
Now, when did you tell that to Mrs. Eagles?
I don't know. Maybe a month or two.
Mrs. Eagles, tell me what he said to you when he told you about the cocaine.
He told me that he knew for a fact that Matt and another individual had it, and that they had given Devin some.
Well, he didn't tell that to me just now.
Well,
he didn't tell that to me just now.
He said that he knew that they did the cocaine New Year's Eve.
It's not what he's saying now.
Well,
sit down. What grade are you in school, Devin?
9th.
Ever been suspended from school?
Yes.
How many times?
Twice.
For what?
Smoking and...
Smoking cigarettes?
Yeah,
In school?
on school grounds.
Close enough. How old are you?
15.
How old were you when you got suspended for smoking?
15.
So it was a recent suspension.
Last year.
So once for smoking last year. And then, what did you get?
Fighting.
Fighting. When did you get suspended for fighting? You don't worry, I'm going to get to you in a minute.
2 years ago,
2 years ago. Well, last year.
I had, like, in-school suspension because of fighting last year.
And the year before that?
No.
Have you been suspended from school, either an in-school or an out-of-school suspension, more than twice?
I don't think so.
You know what?
I don't think so.
He doesn't think so. Have you ever been arrested?
No.
Did you pass any or all of your subjects last year?
Yes.
How many did you pass?
4.
And how many did you have?
About 8.
So you passed about 50% of your classes last year. Is
Well,
that right?
Yep.
What are you doing this summer?
Well, I can't go to summer school.
Why?
Because I skip school too much. I have to
So
repeat the grade.
So you have an attendance problem?
Yeah. Yes.
When you don't go to school, where do you go?
Stayed home.
Does your mother work?
Yes.
What kind of work does she do?
She's a medical transcriptionist.
You have brothers and sisters?
1 brother.
How old is your brother?
18.
Does he live in the home or out of the home?
In.
In the home.
Mhm.
What does he do?
Nothing.
So your mother has 2 children, she works full time, and she's got 2 children who do nothing except
Yep.
make trouble. Is that what you're telling me?
No.
Sure. You stay home from school, you do nothing. You get suspended from school, you do nothing. You pass half of your classes. You got an 18-year-old brother who does nothing.
Well, then, yes.
Right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
On December 31st, I came home from work and I found him in my apartment.
Is that right?
No.
You mean she's lying about finding you in her home?
Yeah.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Rayetta Calderon says her son was falsely arrested when Sharon Eagles filed a complaint. Sharon says the boy was trespassing on her property.
Now, turning over to this side of the table. How old are you, Matthew?
16.
Your last report card that you got, how many classes did you have?
5.
How many did you pass?
4.
What did you fail?
Math.
Were you in regular attendance in school last year?
Yes.
Ever been arrested?
Yes.
When?
When I was 15,
For what?
someone had left a stolen bike at my house.
You were arrested because somebody else did something wrong.
Yeah, the case was dismissed, though, because they
That
found...
doesn't necessarily mean anything, but you're telling me if somebody else did something wrong, they arrested you.
Yes.
And that was your only arrest.
Yes.
Now, this business about cocaine. Have you ever tried cocaine?
No, I have not.
Have you ever touched cocaine?
No, I have not.
Mrs. Eagles doesn't like you. You know that?
Yes.
And I assume you've known that for a long time.
Yes, Sharon.
Did she ever tell you not to come to her house?
Yes, she has.
Before you were arrested, she told you not to come to her house.
Yes.
And she told you not to come to her house before you were arrested. Is that
Yes.
right?
Yes, Sharon.
Did you go to her house again?
No, I didn't.
You mean after she told you not to come to her house, you were not in her house again?
Correct.
When did she tell you not to come to her house?
Maybe about a month before I was arrested.
Give me the month.
Early December.
So far, is that correct?
I told him numerous times, starting in September, maybe 2 years ago.
All right. But you knew he came to your house, and he came to your house invited by your son.
I did not know that he was going to my home.
Well, he didn't break into your house, madam. He came invited by your son, who was playing hooky from school.
I told him to stay away, and whether Devin let him in, I was at work, I had no way of knowing. But he was not allowed to go to my home at all.
When did you finally call the police?
I went over to the Juvenile Bureau on several occasions.
When did you finally call the police?
Then I finally called them in, I think it was November.
When was he arrested?
He was arrested in January.
Why in January?
Because on December 31st, I came home from work and I found him in my apartment.
Is that right?
No. No.
You mean she's lying about finding you in her home?
Yeah. Yes, Your Honor.
Devin, was Matthew in your home on December 31st?
Yes, he was.
My mom came home early from work and caught me, Matt, and Kevin in there. We were at my house.
Is that right?
Before we were gonna.
She says you were there. Her son says you were there. And your old friend Kevin, well, we didn't even have to think about it for a minute, says that you were there. And that's why you were arrested for trespass. Because that's your claim. Your claim is that Mrs. Eagles had your son falsely arrested for trespass, and you want to be compensated.
Yes, Your Honor.
She told him to stay out of her home. He went to her home.
Well, he wasn't at her home the day that she said that.
Well, I don't believe that. I don't believe that he wasn't there December 31st. I have 3 people who say that he was there.
Your Honor, I showed up in court 3 appearances with witnesses and documentation at the courtroom. If she had my son arrested for those charges, she should have showed up at the courtroom. She never did.
Showed up is not
But
the
I
issue.
had
We are
witnesses
not
to
in.
prove my son was not at her home.
I'll hear your witnesses.
I don't have them all with me. I have Michael with me. He did pick my son up at 5 o'clock. I was home from work that day at 3 o'clock. Michael picked my son up from our home at 5 o'clock that evening.
When did you see him at your home?
It was at probably about 3:45 or 4 because I distinctly remember I was sick that day and I went home early. They don't expect me home until after 6 or.
So you cannot account for where he was at 4 o'clock. Is
He
that
was
right?
home with me, Your Honor.
I don't believe that.
That is the truth.
I don't believe it. Listen, this is the problem, Miss Calderon. I believe that your son was told that he was not welcome in her home. If he was told that, and he acknowledges he was told that, he acknowledges that he was told that in early December, which means that any time after early December, he knew that the welcome mat was closed. This is not Devon's home. Devon merely lives there because his mother lets him live there. She owns the space there. Your son was there. I do not believe he wasn't there.
Your Honor, may I say something?
Sure.
Mrs. Eagle's not telling the truth right now, but on many occasions, we've known them for 4 years. My son and her son met in middle school. On many occasions, Mrs. Eagle would tell my son not to come to her house or that she did not want the children hanging out together. Mrs. Eagles would then deliberately bring her son to my house, drop him off for days at a time.
Listen to me. That's okay. You have just acknowledged that she told your son not to come to her house.
Yes.
She could bring him to your house. You could say, I don't want him in my house. But once the owner of the premises says you are no longer welcome in my private residence, that's it. If you go there, you are trespassing. That's what she had him arrested for. But I have to tell you something. Just pay careful attention to me.
Yes.
It takes 2 to tango.
I understand that.
Okay. So that he's not the bad influence. Together, they're not good for each other.
I guess that's a better way of putting it.
Right. Now, as a parent, you say, listen, I got 2 bad kids. They're worse when they're married. So if I separate them, maybe I have a better chance of working with mine. So you have the right as a parent to say, I want to keep them separated. That's why I started with you. I don't want you to think that I believe that he is a bad influence on him. This one doesn't know whether he's a foot or horseback. He told you one story, he told me a different story, okay? But you are entitled to say, in my home, I don't want to see your face. And if you've done it and you've been unsuccessful, then you go to the police and you have him arrested. Period. End of discussion. Case over. Goodbye.
Eyes are excused. You may step out.
I'm extremely upset that they could just go in there and stand in front of Judge Judy and lie.
I didn't tell the truth, and they won by not telling the truth.
And say that he was not there.
She has lots of issues with her own children, so she blames everybody else's children for her son's problems.
My son's not an angel, but I just...
Caused a lot of trouble, financially and everything.
I had no other recourse.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter, Carpenter versus Young. Step forward, please.
Customer service manager Andrew Carpenter is suing his ex-girlfriend, clerk Rhonda Young, for the unpaid balance on a car loan. Rhonda says as soon as they broke up, the deal went sour.
Miss Young was your girlfriend. She came to you at some point and said she was having some financial difficulties. She fell behind in her car payments. According to you, you loaned her money, some $800 and change, to make 2 car payments. So far correct?
Yes.
And she didn't pay you back any of that money.
No.
Then she was in more financial trouble, so you agreed to take out a second mortgage on your house.
Yes.
And loan her enough money to pay off the car loan so she wouldn't have any more stress. And the agreement was she was going to pay you $200 a month for 5 years until her loan to you was satisfied. So far, right?
Yes.
Is that pretty accurate so far?
Yes, ma'am.
When did she pay the car off?
She sent a cashier's check on the 9th of December.
Okay, so in December. So her first payment was due in January.
Yes.
And according to you, she didn't make January's payment.
Yes.
She did make February and March, but not January.
Yes.
So on April 1st, you took back the car.
Yes.
And you still have the car.
Yes.
But you say you've had it appraised for what you could sell it for. And it comes up a little short of what she owes you if you went to sell it. So you want her to pay the difference now.
Yes. I gave her a piece of paper also stating that she could make payment arrangements and contact me on paying this difference amount, and she said, no, see you in court.
Well, at this point, she's correct, sir, because you don't have fixed damages. Let us say, under the scenario that you have just outlined, I find her in breach of that contract, which enables you to take back the car. Did you make January's payment?
At the time that we were going to go on a ski trip, he told me not to worry about it. I went ahead and sent it. And I said, okay, are you sure? He goes, go ahead and do it like that. But, you know, I'm going to have you write me checks after that, send them to my house, and I will send it to the mortgage company. So I did complied exactly what he wanted.
You didn't make January's payment. You made February and March. And
Yes,
when
ma'am.
did you break up, by the way?
The end of January.
And you didn't take the car back in February or March?
That is correct.
Not until April. So let us assume that I find that she breached the agreement by not making January's payment, and you had every right to take back the car. And your plan is to sell it, right?
Yes.
You have to do that. You have to sell it so that the damages that you have are fixed. How much did you loan her for the car?
$10,000.
And let's say you actually sell it and get $8,000 for the car, leaving $2,000 balance.
Yes.
And she has made 2 payments to you so far of $400.
Yes.
Which means she owes you $1,600.
What about the two car payments?
And the 2 car payments if I find that that was a loan,
She said she'd pay back.
along with this money, because you were her boyfriend. I'm not persuaded about these 2 car payments. But let's say you sell the car for $9,000. Say you find some sucker who's willing to give you an extra $1,000. That means that your damages are only $600. So when I say you don't have fixed damages yet, Mr. Carpenter, you haven't sold the car. Do
Correct.
we understand each other?
Yes.
So your action here is premature, and it is dismissed without prejudice until you go and sell the car. Got it?
Got it.
Perfect.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I think it went well. You know, I could have worked something out with this gentleman. And he just got a little crazy.
She was working 2 jobs at the time,
He would show up at places and make scenes.
so I thought I'd help her out so she only had to work 1 job.
He left notes and stuff on my car.
Never lend anybody money again.
I didn't want to be with him, and he wanted to make me suffer.
He got himself arrested for falling behind in his child support.
A father behind bars.
You agreed to bail him out with the following arrangement. He was going to fix your father's roof.
Yes.
But this carpenter was no saint.
You did not fix her father's roof.
Well, I was working at my job. I don't remember. I had no vehicle.
Who cares? You have an excuse for everything.
Judge Judy.
Mr. and Mrs. Skinner, you hired the defendant's daughter to house sit for you. You were going away on vacation?
A 3-day weekend.
And it is your claim that while the defendant's daughter was there, some items were stolen from your house, totaling almost $5,000. And also that the defendant's daughter threw a party, used your car without your permission. But primarily, the car wasn't damaged or destroyed. Primarily, you just want the value of the items that were stolen. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're suing her mother
Yes, ma'am.
because she's a minor. How old are you?
I'm 17 now.
Why don't you stand up next to your mother? Maybe 17, but you're taller than your mom. So why don't you tell me how you found this young lady to house sit for you?
Well, we worked together, and I felt since I worked with her, I could trust her daughter that nothing would happen to my house while we were gone for a few days. So we made the arrangement, and I paid them $40.
Who did you make the arrangement with?
Both of them.
Well, tell
With
me,
her mother.
tell me where that took place, when it took place, when did you go away?
Okay. I made the arrangement partially with Natasha at work, and then they all came over to the house, and we went through where all the medicine for the animals were and how they were to be taken care of.
You mean Miss Wilson brought her daughter over to your house?
Yes, ma'am.
Had you met her daughter before?
Yes, ma'am.
And when she brought her over to the house, it wasn't agreed upon that Mrs. Wilson was going to be there to house it, only her daughter?
It was also agreed that on one particular night, Natasha and her husband was going to come over, and they were going to be at the house, watch movies with the girls, and that they would be supervised at all times.
What do you mean they would be supervised at all times?
She would be watching the house and checking on them because she would be going to the house twice a day.
So is what you're telling me, Miss Skinner, that you made arrangements with Miss Wilson that her daughter was going to sleep at the house and take care of your animals?
Correct.
How many animals do you have?
3.
But that Mrs. Wilson was going to be there twice a day and was also going to spend one night at the house with her husband.
Actually, what it was is she was going to be there twice a day to check on it because she was going to pick Christina up, take her to work in the morning, leave her son there to stay at the house during the day. Then when Christina got off, she would take Christina back to the house, pick up her son so the house would never be empty.
So she was just doing a chauffeuring service. She wasn't going there to check on the house. She was going to drop off and pick up her children who were house sitting.
Right.
All right, well, that's different.
Well,
and you may have felt comfortable that she was going to be there, but that wasn't twice a day checking on the house, Miss Skinner.
Okay.
Right?
I felt as a friend she was going to do that, yes.
And that's a favor. But that's not what she was doing. She said, I'll make sure the house is covered with my children so it won't be vacant. Okay, what day did you leave?
Friday, August 2nd.
What was your arrangement with Christina with regard to friends?
We had agreed so that she wouldn't be alone since she didn't know the area, that one friend could stay with her at night. That way she wouldn't be alone in a neighborhood she didn't know.
Good. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did you have more than one friend over?
Yes.
How many friends did you have over, Christina?
A total of 3.
Including you?
No, without me. I was the 4th.
And what were these friends doing at your house?
It was my best friend, one of my best friends, Brandy's birthday. So we picked her up and we were just sitting there watching TV and just talking. And
so there are 4 of you all together?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
I have a copy of the police report, a copy of citations that she was issued in my car at 4:15 in the morning in Arlington.
What were you doing in her car, Christina?
I had taken it to drive back to Arlington to pick up friends, and that was the time when I was taking Brandy and Courtney back home.
What were you doing riding in her car?
I used it to go pick up friends.
Well, you weren't allowed to do that, right?
Right.
Your Honor?
Yeah.
May I say something?
Sure.
Okay. First of all, before we even agreed to this, she knew my daughter did not have a license to drive. And prior to that, I had asked her, whatever you do, please do not let her have the key. We've talked about this at work, and we talked about it again once we made it to her house for everybody to meet. I didn't know until after all these happened that she had given my child the keys to her car, in case of emergency, mind you, which I understand. But she's 16.
Just a second. You gave her the keys to your car?
We left the keys at the house because they had the house keys and the car keys. In case of emergency, if the house was on fire, the car needed to be moved.
I told her I was 15 minutes away.
They were
Just a second,
on
Miss
the
Wilson.
kitchen table.
Miss Wilson.
I know.
You're not suggesting to me that it's their fault that your daughter took the car.
No, but...
Good! I didn't think you were.
No, wait a second.
I didn't
But they
think
should
you-
have known better, though. She knew she didn't have a key. She didn't have a driver's license.
Miss
She
Wilson,
barely knew how to drive. She was
Miss Wilson,
16.
Do you see my mouth moving?
Your Honor?
Do you see my mouth moving?
Yes, ma'am.
The fact that items may have turned up missing in that house may have absolutely nothing to do with you. However, don't even suggest to me that you think in some warped way that it's her fault that your daughter got behind the wheel of a car and drove her friends around at 4 o'clock in the morning. Don't tell me it's somebody else's fault that she did the wrong thing. Just pay attention. Pay attention. It's not somebody else's fault. It's her fault. It may not be your fault, but it's her fault, not
She
hers.
helped create the situation by giving her the key. She's 16. Who's the adult? Her or her? She should have known better. If I had somebody watching my house, I already know the story. She doesn't have a driver's license. It's 2 teenagers.
Just a
I am
second.
not
You
going
see
to
this
hand her
table?
the key.
You see this table?
Got it.
Do you remember the title of my second book?
Beauty fades, dumb is forever.
That's the title. You don't get it. It's not her fault.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
So what you're saying is you don't trust your daughter. You don't trust your daughter not to succumb to temptation and to do the wrong thing. Is that what you're telling me?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Linda and George Skinner are suing Natasha Wilson for the cost of 7 rifles. The Skinners claim the guns were stolen while Natasha's daughter was watching the house.
Let's say she didn't hand her the car keys and the house keys all on one ring, but your daughter went into her dresser drawer and found the keys. You would be standing there saying to me, she should have taken her keys with her. She's a 16-year-old girl. You can't expect a 16-year-old girl to be responsible enough not to succumb to temptation and use a car. That's really what you're saying to me, right?
I think
Is that what you're saying? Just answer me yes or no. I don't need a whole
Yes.
speech from you. Okay. Well, then if that's what you thought, you shouldn't have said that your daughter was responsible enough to stay in her home and be paid. Because if someone can't be trusted, I don't care if they're 10 or 12 or 14 or 16, they can't be trusted. So what you're saying is you don't trust your daughter. You don't trust your daughter not to succumb to temptation and to do the wrong thing. Is that what you're telling me? Is that the way you were brought up? Well,
No,
that's
ma'am, I
unfortunate.
was not brought up that way.
That's unfortunate. If you don't trust your daughter not to do the right thing, then you should not say to these people, my daughter is responsible enough to stay in your home. Because the car is one thing, but there are other things in the home. There were 3 animals there, and if she's not responsible enough not to use a car that she's not been given permission to use, she's not responsible enough to make sure that 3 animals are taken care of. So that if you had some idea that your daughter was irresponsible, you should have told her, I'm sorry, my 16-year-old daughter is not responsible. I will not allow her to stay in your home. You didn't say that. You led her to believe your daughter was responsible enough to
But there were
oversee.
conditions to that, though.
I'm speaking. Was responsible enough to oversee her home and her dogs. That still doesn't make you liable. All I'm doing now is giving you a hard time because you don't get it through your head that it's not her fault, but her fault. We understand each other? Good. Now we understand each other. Now, you also found that other items were missing.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Items were missing, such as some rifles.
Yes, ma'am.
And a whole bunch of other stuff.
Yes, ma'am.
She's not responsible. She's responsible, but she's a minor.
Correct.
You have the ability to select someone responsible to take care of your home. And if you selected her, and if something happened in your home, you can't say her parents are responsible. You can't.
I would just like to for you to see this, to give you an idea that how long she had somebody in our home.
I don't care. She knew she did the wrong thing. This isn't somebody who's saying to me, I thought I could use it, that it was okay. She knew she did the wrong thing. Only her mother's making excuses. But her mother is not responsible for what she stole, or her friend stole, or somebody else took from the house when she left the house open, when she took her friends home at 4 o'clock in the morning. Her mother's not responsible. And under the law, you can't collect any money from her. So what you have to do, and what everybody has to do, if they decide to leave their home and entrust their home to somebody, you make sure that person is not a minor. So if things come up missing, you have somebody to sue. But you can't say, listen, I have to blame somebody. You have to blame yourself. She's a teenager, and when you leave teenagers in a house, unsupervised, 24 hours a day, trouble happens. I remember leaving my teenage children in a house, and we were just gone for an overnight, and these were not babies. And getting a call that there was a huge party. What kind of party? 35 people in a party. You don't do that. When you leave teenagers in a house, you never know what happens. When they have an empty house, it's party time. You know, the word goes out over the waves. Now they goes over internet. Party time. Bottom line is, you didn't hire her, nor did you pay her. The only arrangement that you had with Miss Wilson was she was going to drop off and pick up her children so that the house would be covered all the time by her children. You have a responsibility to select the right people to take care of your house. If you don't blame somebody else.
Actually, I paid Natasha.
Did you pay her to give to her children? Or did you just give her the money?
I gave her the money to do...
Ms. Skinner, you're pressing it. She was not in charge of your house. Her 16-year-old daughter was in charge of your house. That's who you left in charge of your home.
Yes.
And if you chose to do that, and if she did the wrong thing, her mother is not responsible. You can't sue her. And she's not legally responsible. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I feel like because she had given her the key, she was able to get in that car, go pick up her friends, and have a little get-together.
Till today, they never admitted that they even left the house or that there was anybody else there besides the two girls.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Carroll versus Lampron, step forward, please.
23-year-old sales manager Jeff Carroll is suing ultrasound technician Paula Lampron for damage to his car after he ran over her dog. Paula claims Jeff was speeding. She is countersuing for the death of her pet.
Mr. Carroll, you were driving your car down the street, and it is your claim that the defendant's dog, which was unleashed, slammed into your car, causing damage. Ms. Lampron said that you were speeding. You had to have been speeding down the street. I'm not sure whether you saw him. Is that right?
I didn't see him.
Didn't see him. But you had to have been speeding down the street when you hit her dog, and as a result of that, her dog was killed. I think the dog had to be put to sleep.
Yes, it did.
And you are counterclaiming for the value of the dog.
And the vet bill.
And the vet bills. Okay. Mr. Carroll, describe this street to me. Tell me what it looks like. Is it a highway? Is it a two-lane street, four-lane street?
It's a two-lane street. It's very narrow. It's a residential area. 30 miles an hour is the posted speed limit.
What happened?
I was proceeding at the speed limit, 30 miles an hour down the road, when all of a sudden a loud crash to the passenger side. I looked in my mirrors, I didn't see anything. I pulled over, saw that it was a dog. I was in severe trauma. I saw Paula. She asked me to help. I said, sure. We helped get the dog into the truck.
Into whose truck?
Into the back of her truck. The dog
What kind of a dog was this?
A golden retriever. We got the dog loaded up, and she proceeded to the animal hospital.
And what happened to the animal hospital?
And the veterinarian helped me get it out of the truck. He said the injury was extremely severe, and he would do anything he could to save her. He called me and told me that there'd be no chance of her recovery, and she was
What
in
was she
severe
doing without a leash, Miss Lampron?
I have two golden retrievers, mother and son. That was the mother. And I was just leaving my house to do errands. Both dogs were sitting by the side of my truck, waiting to get in.
Unleashed?
Yes, but on my property.
But unleashed?
Yes. And they don't run. They're under my control. However, the female dog is very obsessed with her ball, and she had a ball in her mouth. The ball dropped out, and she ran to the end of the driveway to catch it, to get her ball. And it just happened in a split second.
Well, the end of your driveway is not where this happened. He wasn't driving in your driveway.
No, he wasn't driving in my driveway,
Right,
but he
so
was driving
with a
very
ball.
close to the road, and I have pictures of the end of my driveway where my dog was. My dog was not out in the middle of the street, Your Honor.
He didn't say it was out in the middle of the street. The dog hit his car as it was coming down the street. Can I see the photographs of the damage to your car?
Actually, photographs of her property as well with it.
What kind of car is this, sir?
It's a Toyota Supra,
What year?
1993,
What's your deductible?
$500.
You still have the car?
No, I do not, actually.
Why not?
I sold it.
When?
Actually, 3 days before I came here, I just got all the bodywork finished. And,
You have the paid bill?
no, the deductible covered. I mean, my insurance covered it, basically.
You have the name of the place where you took your car to be fixed?
Custom imports.
You have your insurance paperwork?
Yes, I do.
Let me see it. How much did you sell the car for?
$20,000.
$20,000?
They don't make the car anymore. It had a lot of additions to the car. It wasn't stock.
When did you purchase the car?
2 years ago.
And how much did you pay for the car?
$17,000.
So you made $3,000 on the car.
Not really. I put a lot more into it over the 2 years.
This is an estimate, is that right?
No, that's what I got from my insurance company.
Okay. Custom imports.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where you took the car to be fixed?
Yes.
You know anybody who works there?
Yep. Tori is who I deal with.
And in what month did you have this car fixed?
It was April.
What made you wait from January to April?
I had to save some money.
And so you actually paid the $500 deductible?
Yes, I did.
And who did you pay that to?
To the custom imports.
And how did you pay them?
Cash.
Really? You gave them cash? You have a receipt from them that you gave them $500 in cash?
No, I did not.
Why not? Didn't they give you a receipt when you paid the bill?
Not really. It's kind of a friend who did it.
You understand where I'm going with you, sir?
Yes.
You got my drift?
Yes.
Perfect. As long as we understand each other. You know what my father used to say?
You want me to grab one out of the air?
He used to say to me, don't pee on my leg and tell me it's raining.
Okay.
Your dog hit his car. Your dog was off the leash. It's your fault. That's it. Unless you can establish to my satisfaction, which you can't because you didn't see him, that he was exceeding the speed limit and that is the reason that this happened. And it really isn't. But the reason it happened is that your dog was off the leash. Because your dog hit his car, the side of his car, according to this. I see some damage in the picture that he handed me that had nothing to do with the dog.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly, Bird, this doesn't look like it had anything to do with the dog, right?
No.
Right? The dent, maybe, but not this part.
Right.
Right. So, you understand, you have no claim, no legitimate claim against the plaintiff. And since the plaintiff, even if I believed what he said about taking it to his friend Tori at this place, who's a good friend who took care of the car for him, and he actually paid him $500 in cash for which he has no receipt, I find that he made $3,000 on the car, and as far as I'm concerned, that's all he's going to make. The case is dismissed, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I still feel the dog was on my property.
I stopped, helped the dog out.
This dog traveled everywhere with me.
I was concerned with the dog. I have a dog myself.
Kind of write that off, you know, when you kill an animal.
I'm going to keep my dog on a leash. I don't ever want to see this happen to my dog.
We both lost. I lost a dog, and he lost, you know, his claim.
There was ice on the ground, and that's made it slippery.
You gave permission for him to drive your car. He wrecked the car.
I felt that I was sober enough.
Not sober enough, evidently.
A wreck in winter wonderland.
Snow was covering on the ground, and that's what caused the crash.
Whose fault is that? God's fault?
I guess so, Your Honor.
A divine Judge Judy.
He's laughing because you said car.
Yes, I did.
Do you still own it?
No, I don't.
You allowed your boyfriend to drive the car.
Yes, I did.
Your boyfriend's name is Shane.
Yes.
According to what I've read here. And this would be Shane.
Yes, Your Honor.
Shane and the defendant went for a ride. The defendant somehow, after Shane went to sleep or whatever, went to a party and he wasn't in the shape to go home, the defendant decided to take the car, according to you, without Shane's permission and drive home.
Yes, Your Honor.
He wrecked the car.
Yes, he did.
And you want him to pay for the car.
Yes, I do.
Mr. Hathaway says, it's not my fault.
Correct, Your Honor.
All right. Now, Mr. Hathaway is going to explain, not only to me, but he is going to explain to Officer Petrie Hawkinsbird how someone who was the sole driver of a car, who wrecked it, can establish to our satisfaction that it was somebody else's fault.
Okay.
Okay? Is that fair?
That's fair, Your Honor.
Very good. Step up here, Shane. Now, you borrowed the plaintiff's car when?
January 16th.
And what did you borrow the car for?
To go to Bridgewater State College. We went up there to visit a friend.
Did you have a driver's license?
Yes, I do.
Did you?
Oh, did
On
I?
January 16th, 2003, have a driver's license?
No, I did.
How did you expect to drive her car without a driver's license, Shane?
Ben was driving the car there to the college.
And then?
When you borrowed the car from your girlfriend, did you tell her that Mr. Hathaway was going to be driving the car?
No, I did not tell her that.
Were you going to be back that evening?
No, the next morning.
Who did you tell her was going to be driving the car?
Actually, I didn't tell her anything. She just knew Ben was going to be driving the car.
Is that right?
Yes, I knew he didn't have a license.
So you knew that Ben was going to be the driver?
Yes, I did.
All interesting things that they left out of the complaint, by the way. So you gave permission for Ben to drive your car with Shane as the passenger?
Yes, I did.
So what happened, Shane?
Well, we both went to Bridgewater State College that night. We went to a party. We were drinking and stuff like that. And he asked me, he goes, "Can I use your car?" And I said, "No way." And then he took my keys and he took off with my car, and I ran out to get him, but he took off right in front of me in the parking lot. And then I waited in the parking lot thinking he was joking around. But 20 minutes later, he never came back.
Where did he say he wanted to go with the car?
To go pick up my friend Rob.
I mean, you asked that with a question in your voice.
To pick up my friend Rob.
This is not sounding true to me, Shane.
He said he wanted...
Bird, you see Bird is shaking his head?
Yeah.
You see Bird is shaking his head? We together are like a truth machine. Okay. You know what happens when somebody is piddling on my leg? The hairs on the back of my neck start to stand up. So I can always tell when someone is making it up as they're going.
Okay.
Because the hair on the back of my neck goes up, and I'm watching the hair on the back of his neck.
All right.
Do you understand, Shane? So we're going to start again.
Okay.
You're at a party.
Yes.
Doing some drinking.
Yes.
And
we come back to the dorm room where we were going to sleep at.
And you fell asleep.
No, I didn't fall asleep.
Did you get into bed?
No.
Did you fall into bed?
No.
You were standing at the window.
No, we were in the room just talking and stuff like that. Okay? And then he took my keys and he started going down the stairs. He said he was going to leave, and I chased him, and he went inside my car. And then I was like, "Ben, get out of my car. And he took off right in front of me.
So what was going to pick up a friend, Rob?
He promised my friend Rob, who lives in Providence College, I don't know, an hour away or something like that. He promised he was going to go get him that night because he talked to him.
But he didn't say anything to you about going to pick up Rob
Yes,
when
he
took
did.
the keys.
He said, I want to go pick up Rob, and I said, no.
Let's have it.
All right. Well, Your Honor, I was asked to drive the
Nicholson
car.
did that. Do you remember when Jack Nicholson did that? I loved when he did that.
All right. Eye contact. Well, I was asked to drive the car, so we went up there like was said before. The plan was for us to come home that night. So we went out, we went to a party, and when it was time to go home, that wasn't the case anymore. He didn't want to go home, and I started arguing with him saying, you know, I was the one who drove up here, and right now I'm the one who's driving the car, and you promised me I could go home, therefore
I'm going home.
I want to go home. And when that didn't come to an agreement, I said, you know what, I am going home. And I jumped in the car, and he said, come on, man, I don't want to leave. Let's stay here. It's the better thing to do. It's late. I said, no, I want to go home. And so I jumped in the car.
Had you been drinking, Mr. Hathaway?
I had been drinking earlier that night, and by the time it was time to go, I felt that I was sober enough to drive the car home.
Not sober enough, evidently, Mr. Hathaway. Because what happened on the way home, sir?
Well, that's also because, Your Honor, not only was it late at night, but as you can see, it was in January, and snow was covering on the ground, and therefore I made it slippery while driving. And
whose fault is that? God's fault? The weatherman's fault?
I guess so, Your Honor.
Yes. Why don't you tell me how the accident happened, Mr. Hathaway?
Well, I was driving along, and I was coming home down Route 1. Sorry, eye contact. All right, I was coming down Route 1, and I was on the side of the road, and I just hit an ice patch, black ice, whatever it may have been, and slid off into the guardrail, and the car crashed. I got it to drive a little bit farther down the road so I could make it to somewhere where I could stop and park, and then I called my mother, and she came and picked me up at the location that I was at.
Maybe that's why he wanted to stay over, because you both had a little something to drink. The weather was bad. It was snowy. It was slippery. It was icy. So that was better judgment, right, Mr. Hathaway?
Well, that was his judgment, but the judgment...
Evidently better judgment because you wrecked the car.
Yeah, but I don't believe that was the reason for the wrecking of the car.
Well, then tell me what you think the reason was, sir. You just told me it was January and there was slippery and sliding outside.
That's what I'm saying. There was ice on the ground, and that's what caused the crash. It had nothing to do with me being drunk or anything like that.
You love it, huh? What? You love it? Mr. Hathaway, do you know why Officer Petrie Hawkins-Byrd is laughing? And he usually doesn't do that. He usually doesn't have as good a time as he's having right now. He's laughing because you sound like a fool.
Yeah.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You thought that your judgment was sufficiently intact to make the drive home.
Exactly.
The proof of the pudding, sir, is in the tasting. You totaled her car.
And later today,
I agreed to pay off her car for a Christmas present.
If you went and sold the car afterwards, what kind of Christmas present was that?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Melissa Norrie claims her boyfriend's former friend, Ben Hathaway, stole her car and wrecked it. Ben claims Melissa loaned him the car.
Now, what kind of car was this, Miss Norrie?
It was a Saab, 1992.
And it was totaled?
Yes, it was. I have the papers stating it was totaled, and I have how much it's worth, and I also have the pictures.
Pictures?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, let's see what the Blue Book value of the car is. It's 4-cylinder?
Yes.
4-cylinder is worth $1,750. Your car had 300,000 miles on it.
Yes, or 280 something.
All right. Mr. Hathaway.
Yes, Your Honor.
You exercised poor judgment, sir. You drove the car, you had an accident. You had an accident, you had been drinking. You were told by the person who really had borrowed the car, even though you were driving, that they didn't want you to drive home. So, at that point, you shouldn't have driven home. You did drive home. You had an accident. It's your fault. You have to compensate the plaintiff for that. Do you understand?
Somewhat, Your Honor. I just don't get that there was an agreement to drive home, and you're already saying that I was under the influence, and I had said
I didn't say you were under the influence, sir. I said that you had been drinking earlier that evening.
Exactly.
And you said that by the time you were ready to go home, you thought
Correct.
that your judgment was sufficiently intact to make the drive home.
Exactly.
The proof of the pudding, sir, is in the tasting. You totaled her car. Who's responsible? Her?
I guess no. I don't know.
I
Nobody.
guess not. No, not nobody. Not nobody. Somebody is responsible. And since you were the one who was driving, and you were the one who elected to drive in bad weather on an evening when you had been partying, you are responsible. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He apologized a few times, and he said that he was going to go through his insurance company and he was going to pay us right away.
It was tough to do that, and I apologized, and I wanted to take care of it in the best way I could.
It's not something you should do to your friend, really. You know what I mean? I told him not to take it, and he took it.
It was kind of tough, but I mean, it's hard to, to lose a friend after that long of a time.
I think he got what he deserved.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Weber versus Lamont. Step forward, please.
Contractor Jason Weber is suing his ex-girlfriend, Kathleen Lamont, for an unpaid loan for a truck.
Mr. Weber, you and the defendant lived together for a period of time. I think I read something about 3 years. Is that right?
Yes.
According to your complaint, when you broke up, which was recently, when was that?
It was in March of '03.
The defendant took with her a truck that is both titled and registered in her name. You claim purchased by you. The loan for the truck is in your name, and you want the money back.
Right.
Miss Lamont says that this was not a loan. Miss Lamont says this was a gift from you to her. You were living together. She came into the relationship with another car, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
You sold that car, got her another car, then sold that car, and then bought this truck, and there was never any talk about payment by her. You're only seeking payment now because you're no longer together. That's your defense.
Yes,
is that
ma'am.
right? So I'd like you to tell me first who these people are. Who is this person?
This is my sister.
Is she a witness for you?
Yes.
A witness who will say what?
That Kathy stated to her that I was getting a loan for her for the truck.
And who are these people?
My son and my boyfriend, Scott.
Do they have any information with regard to this case, or are they just here for moral support?
It depends on how it goes, actually. My son has been present during most everything that's happened.
I'm not interested in most everything. I'm only interested in the truck. I have a very limited focus. Okay. All right, Mr. Weber. When the defendant and you first began to live together, what kind of a car did she have?
She had a '97 Dodge Stratus.
And what happened to that car?
At her request, I
sold it.
To whom?
A friend of mine.
And how much did you get for it?
$3,500.
And what did you do with the $3,500?
Well, he's still paying me for it. I agreed to let him give me monthly payments on it.
And then what did she use for transportation, Mr. Weber?
She was driving my car, which was a '94 Ford Probe GT.
And what happened to that car?
At her request, I sold that one also.
Okay, well, that was your car to sell.
Right.
And then what was she driving?
We purchased a '99 Toyota Tacoma 4x4 pickup.
When you say we purchased, what does that mean?
I financed it, and she agreed to pay the payment. As you'll see, I took the $4,000 right off the top of the money that was owed on the truck, on top of the payments that she made on the truck.
Explain that to me.
I agreed to give her or pay off her car for a Christmas present, which was $4,000.
Pay off her car. Which car?
The '97 Dodge Stratus. I paid
You mean
for the
when
Dodge
you
Stratus.
sold that to your friend, she had money owing on that?
No. Yes, she had money owing on it, but I had paid it off, so it was free and clear when I sold it.
How much did she owe on it?
$4,000.
Is that right?
Yes, and he paid it off for my Christmas present that year.
Is that what you did?
Yes.
Okay. Then you went and sold the car.
Yeah. She didn't want it. She wanted the '94
But then
Ford Probe.
listen to me. If you went and sold the car afterwards, what kind of Christmas present was that?
She got another car to replace it.
No, you said you gave her your car to drive.
I did.
You didn't give her another car. The other car, I assume, was in your
She
name.
got her $4,000 back with the '97 or '99 Toyota truck.
No. Mr. Weber, either you make a present or you don't, sir. If you say you made her a Christmas present in 2002, when you buy the truck, you don't make her another present
Right.
by deducting it. You made her a present. It was a gift. Goodbye. It's over. And what I don't understand is if you're a couple living together, I don't understand you saying, well, I'm going to buy a truck.
Mm-hmm.
Because you say, we purchased a truck. What were you driving at the time?
I had a pickup of my own.
Okay. So you bought this 1999 pickup. How many years ago?
It was last year.
Give me the date.
It was October of '02.
And in October of 2002, what were you doing for a living?
Me? I was working at a Chevron as a cashier and going to school full-time.
And what kind of work were you doing?
I'm a contractor.
Now, from October 2002 until when you broke up, which is in what month?
March '03.
Who made the payments for the truck?
She did.
Is that right?
I made 5 payments on the truck, yes, from November to March.
Well, then that sounds to me as if there may have been an agreement for you to make the payments on the truck, Miss Lamont.
I agreed to help him out financially because he said he was having some problems, and I was only going to work until I was losing my job after March because I was starting an internship for school. So
There
we
are a
knew
lot
I
of
was
other
only...
ways, Miss Lamont, that you could have helped him out financially. Making the truck payment was not...
It wasn't a truck payment. It was a personal loan payment that he had. I have the title to the truck. I never knew there was going to be a loan on the truck in the first place. There wasn't supposed to be one.
Miss Lamont, how much were you paying towards this loan each month?
I paid $200 a month from November to March until I didn't have a job anymore.
Payment?
$200.
Then you knew there was a loan payment. Mr. Weber, how much is owed on the truck?
Oh, $5,100.
Now, problem is she hasn't made any payments. Is that correct?
Correct.
Since when?
Since March was her last payment.
Have you made the payments?
Yes, I have.
In what amount?
$200 a month.
April, May, June. $600?
Correct.
You owe him, at this point, $600. As a matter of fact, we're close enough to the time where you're going to owe him $800. But you are not entitled, pursuant to your contract with the defendant, to get an upfront amount of $5,100. You understand that?
No.
You didn't have an agreement for her to pay you $5,100. You had an agreement for her to pay you the loan. And there was not an acceleration clause that said that if she failed to make 1 or 2 payments, then the entire sum would be due and owing. Unless you have that agreement, I'll be more than happy to look at it.
That's all I'm asking for, is for her to pay the payment.
Well, she's going to have to make the payments. Right now, she owes you what you've paid, which is $800.
That works for me.
Perfect. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $800. Thank you very much.
Parties
Madam,
excused.
I strongly urge you to get this loan in your own name, or perhaps your current boyfriend can help you out with a loan. Thank you. Because he's going to bring you back to court every few months for money. You got it?
All I want is what she agreed to pay for, which is the loan on the truck.
That's impossible. I don't have any way of doing that. I don't have a job, and I filed bankruptcy for him.
It wasn't for me. How did it benefit me? I paid for it. I paid for the bankruptcy lawyer, which was $600.
He sold my car. I don't owe him anything.
I deducted the $4,000 that I supposedly gave her as a gift right off the top.
That's the way he thinks, I guess.
The final straw is she's driving around in a nice truck and I'm paying the payment.
They claim it was harassment.
She filed a violation against you.
Yes.
She says they're out of control.
Your daughter was held down and strangled.
Her ex-husband tried to silence her.
Tell me what he said.
You're a nutcase. You're a psychopath. Nobody's ever going to believe you.
A mother speaks out.
My daughter's been in intense therapy. She was picked up by her throat. Heroin was shot into her.
Judge Judy. Correction flagger Deborah Dubois is suing her fiancé's ex-wife, customer service rep Vicki Clevenger, for moving expenses and lost wages. Vicki is countersuing for attorney fees and punitive damages.
Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise. This is case number 269 on the calendar in the matter of Dubois versus Clevenger. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
All right, I'm a little confused, so I have to try to clarify a few issues in my own mind. Ms. Dubois, the defendant is the former wife of your current boyfriend. Mm-hmm. And you were living with your boyfriend, is this boyfriend?
Mark.
In a home that was previously the marital home, is that right? Miss Clevenger filed an application for a protective order on behalf of herself and her daughter after an alleged incident involving you and her teenage daughter. That was filed in what month and year?
September 2002.
Now, Miss Clevenger was in fact given a protective order for 12 months?
12 months.
And when was that protective order signed?
September 25th, 2002.
That order excluded you from the house?
When the children were there.
When the children were there. It excluded you when the daughter was there. Sometime later, you went to court to try to have the protective order vacated.
Dismissed, yeah.
When was that?
I'm not sure, maybe a month or two later.
7 months later, ma'am.
I thought, according to the papers that I read, it was in March of 2003.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So in March of 2003, you went to court to try to have the protective order vacated.
Yeah.
At that time, the judge told you, you can't have it vacated. You have to wait until it's over, which is another 4 or 5 months, whatever it is. While you were both in court outside near the clerk's office, there was an incident, according to you, involving Mr. and Mrs. Clevenger, but you claim that she filed a violation petition against you, claiming that you had in fact threatened her. Were you arrested?
I was.
And you were taken into custody. Ultimately, that charge was dismissed. Now, am I correct that what you are suing for is not the original protective order, but suing for the false charge that you claim that the defendant made with regard to the violation of the order of protection?
Actually, both.
Well, you can't file for both. So that's what I have to explain to you right from the get-go. A judge has granted her an order of protection. I do not look behind that to see whether or not the judge made a mistake or not. I'm not an appeals court for a judge. If the subsequent case after the March incident, when the judge denied the application, and I will find out what that is about, that is something that I can hear. Now, Ms. Clevenger has a counterclaim. Your counterclaim says that because she filed the petition to vacate the order of protection, you had to get a lawyer. Then you had to go back to court with regard to this second case, and you had to miss a lot of days' work because of all of this order of protection stuff. And that's what you're suing for. It's nonsense. You initiated the protective order. You don't get paid for that. Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I don't know what else there is. You have no claim for anything else.
I wrote down there for strangling my daughter. My daughter's been in intense therapy. Heroin was shot into her.
Listen to me.
Okay.
You didn't say anything about heroin in your case here. You say that your daughter was held down and strangled by the plaintiff.
No, she was shoved and she was picked up by her throat.
Okay. I'm not hearing it.
Okay.
What's your daughter's name?
Sydney Clevenger.
Do you see Sydney, sir?
Yes, I do.
How often? Stand up.
Yeah, should stand up.
How often?
Pretty much every weekend.
Okay. She comes to your home?
Yes.
Does she have any contact with the plaintiff?
No, by order.
By order of the court?
Yes.
She's fine?
Very fine.
She's fine with you?
Very much so.
And your daughter is a teenager?
Yes.
She knows that you have a relationship with Miss Dubois?
Yes.
She knows that she lives with you when Sydney isn't there?
She actually does not live with me.
She doesn't live with you anymore?
No.
But she knows that you are still in a relationship?
Yes.
And she doesn't hold that against you and say to you, by God, she strangled me, she assaulted me, how could you possibly have anything to do with it? She doesn't say that to you?
Occasionally she does at the beginning of this incident, but it's gone away pretty much.
Were you there when this alleged incident took place?
No.
These two ladies didn't get along?
My daughter and her?
Yeah.
At her instigating.
Well, that's what you say.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not hearing it. I'm not hearing your counterclaim with regard to this strangulation. She's fine. Now, let's get to your lawsuit with regard to the false charge that inspired the violation of the protective order which caused you to be arrested. Let's get to the arrest itself. I want you to tell me where that took place.
At my place of work.
Who came to your place of employment?
2 sheriffs.
Had you gotten any previous notice of it?
No, I did not, Your Honor.
And when did they come to your place of employment?
This original supposed breaking was 2 weeks after the September event. And then in March was when I was arrested.
You mean the alleged breach of the protective order was in September?
Yes. The same day we went to court on the 25th when she got the original permanent.
Can I see the complaint for the violation? Ms. Clevenger, the day you went to court on the petition for protective order, you claimed that after you left court, she violated the order.
Yeah, it's all right here.
You claimed that she violated the order.
They both violated it in the clerk's office.
Did you have a protective order against him?
There's been one against him.
Was it ongoing at that time?
Yes, it was.
Okay. So you filed against both of them?
Not on September 25th. It was the protection order was filed for Eden Clevenger, Sydney Clevenger, and myself. It was signed on September 25th.
Listen to what I'm saying to you, madam. The violation that you allege happened the same date that you got a final order of protection.
Yes.
And it happened outside of the courtroom, inside the clerk's office. And it is your claim that both of them had orders of protection against them at that time, both your former husband and his girlfriend.
I know I got one that day for Miss Dubois, and we went up to the clerk's office.
So he didn't have one?
I believe he did from a while back, from March.
Did you or not?
No, I didn't.
No.
I thought we did have one.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Well, she used the F word.
Really? Let me see whether you say to the police that she said that to you. You don't. You mean this is all coming back to you as you're standing here now?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Deborah Dubois says her fiancé's ex-wife, Vicki Clevenger, falsely accused her of assaulting her daughter. Deborah also claims Vicki falsely charged her with violating a restraining order.
The only thing that this police report says is that the police contacted Patty in the clerk's office, and she said she and Susie had heard Clevenger begin to talk loudly, telling someone to go away and leave her alone. So it's clear that nobody in the clerk's office, based upon the police report, could verify anything except that you were talking loudly. This was in September. Does anybody know why they did not come to arrest this lady until March?
I do.
Why?
Because the address that was placed on the police report was my old address when she knew full well I lived with Mark. So the summons got delivered to the house, and I never received it. The post office returned it. And then, since I didn't go to court, they issued a bench warrant, I guess, and picked me up when they figured out where I was.
Between September, when you filed this,
on September 25th,
and March, did you have any other contact with the plaintiff?
No.
So it's clear that the plaintiff was not doing anything to bother you between September and March. Is that right?
She bothered me in the clerk's office that day.
Did you hear what I said? I want you to pay attention to what I said.
Yes.
Between September and March, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, she doesn't have anything to do with you. She's not in the house when your daughter is there. So why didn't you withdraw this complaint that you had made?
I had no idea that they forwarded it to the prosecutor's office, and the only address on the police report is the 35528 where she was living at. I never gave a wrong address. I've never known where she's lived.
Yes, you did. You knew she lived, just a second.
Yeah, and it's on the police report.
355. You knew she lived with your former husband.
It's on the front of the police report, the address. I gave the detective.
Okay. I just want to know whether between September and March you had any other conversations with any members of the police department or the prosecutor's office.
I did not get a call from the prosecutors till March. The advocate's office called me for domestic violence.
This was before she was arrested.
I'm not sure if it was before or after. I think it all happened after she was, because they sent me a letter in the mail. So I had no idea that they were even pursuing this.
Tell me what happened in the clerk's office.
I went up to the clerk's office and I was standing in line. They proceeded to walk into the clerk's office.
Because each of you had to get a copy of the protective order.
Right, and I was I was in line in front of them. And then I had to scoot over to another line, and they were verbally abusing me.
Tell me what they said.
They said I was a nutcase, I'm a psycho, they just really verbally abused me.
Who's they?
These two.
I want you to tell me who said what.
Mark Clevenger and Deborah Dubois were standing in line humiliating me.
That's a conclusion. I want you to tell me what he said.
You'll never get the kids. This is not going to work. This is going to be dismissed. You're a nutcase. You're a psychopath. Nobody's ever going to believe you.
Okay, so that's what he said.
Well,
now I want you to tell me what she said.
Do I have to say these words?
Yes.
She called me a psycho. This will never. They both just.
No. Don't confuse one with the other. Listen to me very carefully. She didn't repeat exactly the same thing he said. So I assume.
She used the F word.
And what did she say?
You're.
Really? Let me see.
I did not say.
Let me see whether you say to the police in your complaint that she said that to you. You don't.
I don't want to use
You told
that
the
word.
police that they told her you're a nutcase, you're a psycho, this will never work, you'll never get the kids.
And there's.
You didn't say the F word. You didn't say anything else. When this first happened, September 25th, you mean this is all coming back to you as you're standing here now? No. They may have said things to you. They are not a unit. If your ex-husband was saying these things to you and they were standing together, they cannot be construed to be one person. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Good. And I don't believe the other baloney that you just gave me because it's not in your police report that you filed the same day as the incident happened.
I was too humiliated to file it.
I don't believe you, Miss Clevenger.
Okay.
I don't believe that because I believe that if you were smart enough to go for a protective order, you list everything that happens. You want the police and the court to know the most venal of things that happened, so you would report it. It's not that you were humiliated. It's not that you were frightened, because you knew to go to the police immediately, and you would tell them everything. Now, so don't embellish to me. What happened is she made this complaint because she got very angry at what went on in the clerk's office. And I'm going to tell you something. I believe that it probably did, that there were words in the clerk's office. Miss Dubois, I don't know whether the words came from you or came from him. I'm not sure. Maybe a little bit of both. She was angry, so she went to the police. That was in September. They didn't act on it. Unfortunately, somebody had a day when they didn't have a whole lot of work to do, and they found you. I don't know how they found you at work. Do you know how they found you at work?
They went to my original address that she gave them, and my ex-boyfriend said she's at work.
Okay. Now, what happened when you went to court on this violation petition?
It was completely dismissed because she cannot get a domestic violence restraining order against me with her name on it. She could on behalf of the children, but the fact that she added in her name and everything was totally illegal. Can I say one other thing, too?
Sure.
If you notice, the police report was filed 6 hours later in a different police station because she'd found out he was going to take her back to court. So,
listen to me.
All anger.
Listen to me. There were words that transpired in the clerk's office. I believe that one or both of you was so furious
and said things that you probably shouldn't have in the clerk's office. Is that a fair statement, Mr. Clevenger?
Absolutely.
Okay. And she seized the moment and acted upon it. Did she do the wrong thing? She should have let it go. Because the people that ultimately suffer with regard to that are the children. And I would assume that since you have regular contact with your children, that this has created a strain between the two of you.
I actually have custody of one of my daughters, but...
Which child?
The oldest one, Eden.
How old is Eden?
Just turned 16.
Did you have custody of your daughter, too, for a period of time?
For the past 6 years, full custody.
And it wasn't until after this incident that Sydney went back to her mother, is that right?
Yes, it was a stepping stone to modify the custody.
And so that's been for about a year
Yes,
that Sydney's been with her mother.
yes.
Don't throw out her bed.
Oh, I will not. It's already made.
What?
1997, Mark and I resided together till 2002. We shared full custody with each other. I moved out of the house October 2000. Then he moved all these people in the house and then moved her in.
Madam.
He didn't have custody. We shared custody. I lived with him. We were a unit.
Is your older child living with him on a full-time basis?
Yes.
And your younger daughter... Shh. Listen to me very carefully. And your younger daughter, immediately preceding September of 2002, I don't care if it was for an hour or for a week or for a month, she lived with her father.
We shared the kids equally.
I don't believe that. Do you have an order?
Yeah,
I'd like to see the order. Immediatly prior to September of 2002.
Yeah, I had him Friday.
Let me.
The order that was set in 97, but we got back together for 6 years.
Did you hear what I said? I said immediately prior to September of 2002. I don't care if it's a week or a month. Let me see the order where you share 50-50 custody.
I was living in the house. We both had 50-50. I moved out.
You are not living in the house in July of 2002, right?
I moved out October 1st, 2001.
You're not paying attention. You're not paying attention. I said immediately preceding September of 2002, you were not living with your former husband, and your daughter was not living with you full time.
She was.
And you said
4 days a week.
And I said, let me see the
we
order.
We never went by the order.
I said, let me see the order.
I don't have that order. I mean, we shared the kids equally.
I'd like to see the order. Could I see the order, Bird? She has the order.
This is the parenting plan.
Not after.
It's not after. It's what was in effect.
It was. We never went by that.
Can I just see the order, please? This schedule provides that upon enrollment in school, the children shall reside with their father.
That was in 1997.
I don't care what it is. That's what the order is.
But we did.
That's what the order is. No, this is an order where you had full custody of the children. She had visitation. Okay, listen to me. I'm sorry I can't help you. I'm sorry I can't help you for the following reason. She had a right to go in and file for a violation of this protective order because she, in her mind, said, you violated the order by saying nasty things to me. When I say you, she's talking about the cumulative you. And I would assume that both of you had some things to say standing online. I'm not going to revisit that. I think that her violation petition was probably dismissed in the entirety because the order of protection was not for her. It was on behalf of Sydney, who was a minor, and perhaps she didn't understand that. I think she has problem understanding things, period. So I'm sorry that you suffered by virtue of this, but you should have kept your mouth shut in the clerk's office, sir. It would have been the smarter and wiser thing to do, because then she would have had absolutely no basis whatsoever to go in and file this. Ms. Clevenger, you have absolutely no basis to counterclaim, no basis for your lawsuit.
Excuse me, this order was, it says the petitioner and her children on this September 25th.
Can I ask you a question? Are you not hearing me?
I'm hearing you.
I just dismissed her case against you, and I told you that you have no basis to sue her. You were the person who filed for a protective order, and she is perfectly within her rights to try to go into court and say there was no basis for it. I want a rehearing, and if you had to hire a lawyer and lose days from work going into court, you precipitated it. So that's what happens. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
My ex-husband moved all these people into the house.
She's just obsessed with making his life a nightmare.
A 32-year-old cousin with 2 Class C felonies for heroin, 15 misdemeanors and 10 gross misdemeanors.
She's crazy.
He also moved another unsupervised male in the house.
I hope they commit her.
And the only reason I had to go on with the modifications because my youngest daughter missed 33 days of school and was severely depressed and needed to see a therapist.
When the girls turn 18, it'll be over. Nothing to fight over.
He lost his only son.
So you decided to buy some burial plots.
She lost the love of her life.
How long had your son been in a relationship with her daughter?
Since 13 years old.
But did she plot to be reunited in the afterlife?
She had wrote and forged and switched plots on me.
One expert witness
That's his handwriting.
could change everything. Judge Judy.
This doesn't strike you as being strange?
Yes, it does.
The equipment operator Larry Huffine is suing his ex-girlfriend, Geraldine Donovan, for switching around his prepaid grave plots. Larry claims she forged a document to do it.
Right in the courtroom, please. Now, this is case number 127 on the calendar in the matter of Huffine versus Donovan. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Mr. Huffine, was the defendant... What I gather is you had one son.
Yes.
Her daughter was in a relationship with your son.
Yes.
And he was tragically killed.
Right.
At that time, you decided to buy some burial plots.
5 of them.
So that when your son was buried, you would know that you would be buried next to him and where the family would be. She bought plots above you.
Her daughter did.
In any event, this is your complaint. You found out that a stranger had been buried in one of your plots.
Yes.
And it is your claim that Ms. Donovan caused that to happen.
Yes.
And that she forged your signature for the authorization with the cemetery.
Yes.
In order to move around the spots.
Right.
You say you never gave you permission for that.
That's correct.
And you want to be compensated.
Yes.
Ms. Donovan says that you did, in fact, give your permission. And she says that she can prove that you gave your permission. And she is counterclaiming because she said she's had to go through all kinds of legal gymnastics to clear herself of these allegations. So first tell me, when did your son pass away?
In 1997, December 24th.
And how did he die?
The doctor made a mistake, drilled into his brain.
So it was a surgical error?
Yes.
How long had you been living with Miss Donovan at the time?
Less than 2 years.
And how long had your son been involved in a relationship with her daughter?
Probably since, 13 years old.
How old was he when he died?
18.
Now, can you show me, please, the burial plot locations? I would like to be able to see that so I could put it in context.
I have a video right here, if you'd like it.
I would. Can you hold that a second, please? Mr. Huffine, can you walk up to the monitor, please?
Yes.
And I'd like you to sort of point out with me to your finger as it's being explained to me.
Alrighty.
Okay.
This one here is my parents. They're located in the upper cemetery. This right here is my son. When he passed away, I bought these 5 lots right here. This one included. I bought these 2 for me and whoever I was married to, and my ex-wife and whoever she was married to at the time. And the son was in the middle.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So you bought your sons, one for you, one for your wife, if should you remarry, one for your former wife, and her mate.
Yes, I
so
did.
that you would all be together. Now, where did the defendant's daughter buy their plot?
She bought the one in front of my son.
Excuse me? One, just a second. One plot or 2?
Just one.
In front of his?
Right.
Okay, go ahead.
And on May 3rd, I got a call from my ex-wife, and she said, I'm at the cemetery. And she said, it scared me to death. Someone was in your plot, my plot that I bought. And I said, no, I think you're mistaking. And she says, no, I'm not. So I called Jerry, and I said, you didn't do anything with these plots, did you? And she goes, no, I didn't. So I went down the cemetery, and I seen that Anthony David was buried in one of my plots. So I went up to the...
Was it the one right next to your son or
No,
one over?
it was the end. So I went up to the main office there at the cemetery, and they gave me a letter that Jerry had wrote and forged and switched plots on me.
Can I see a copy of that
Yes.
letter, please?
And here's one from the notary if you'd like to look at that too, saying that he did not do that.
I'd like to see both. Continue.
And at this point, I went through different attorneys. They explained to me what she had did, and they gave me a copy of that.
And you said I never signed it.
No, I never signed that. She also called the cemetery and told them she did not remember doing this.
That's hearsay. Yes, I'll hear you.
I thought it would make it easier. I do have copies from the cemetery of the plots. That would make it easier for you.
I'd like to see them, please. Okay. Tell me the circumstances surrounding the plaintiff agreeing to switch cemetery plots so that you and your daughter would be together.
Side by side. I'd be head-to-head with Larry. She would be head-to-head with Michael. Michael's mother and her boyfriend would be on one side of Michael.
And Anthony Davis is a stranger to everybody.
Right.
So I want you to tell me the circumstances surrounding Mr. Huffine agreeing to make that change, which in effect would say to him, if you marry either your wife or your ex-wife's mate could not be buried in the same line. Explain that to me.
When we bought the plots, and we did...
By the way, who bought them?
I did.
Larry did. They were under his name.
He paid for them?
Yes, but...
So he paid for them, so they were his plots?
Right. But all my monies went into Larry's checking account, and I do have proof of that.
I don't care about that.
Okay.
He bought the plots?
He bought the plots. They were in his name. At some point, I don't have a date, but I believe it was in early 1999, my daughter had said she wished that I would have bought my plot next to her. And she said, well, I wonder if you can switch it. I said, I don't know. So I called the cemetery. I asked the cemetery, can you exchange your plot if you want to? They said you can, as long as you do it before the last payment is made, and it has to be a letter
from the owner,
a request
from the
in
owner.
writing, notarized. So I didn't do it immediately. I thought about it for a little bit of time, and to be honest, I don't remember any specific hard, long talks between Larry and myself. I just remembered that he did agree to it. I did write the letter out myself.
You wrote the letter out yourself, and that was in 1999.
Correct.
Were you still together as a couple then?
Yes, we were.
When did you separate from Mr. Huffine?
The end of August 1999.
So not far after this.
Not
so I
far.
assume things had not been going well for a while.
Larry had suffered a lot of personality changes due, I guess, to Michael's death.
So things had not been going well for a while.
Right.
If you separated in August, and this was done in May, it was a brief few months. So I assume that in May, things were not going well between the two of you.
Everything seemed to be going fine, except for that Larry was very depressed a lot.
So things were not going fine.
Well, I don't know
I'm not
exactly what you
interested in what
mean.
you
I
have to
mean, we
say
weren't
now.
screaming, fighting, tearing each other's hair out.
Well, then how come you separated a couple of months later?
Because the end of June or July, he went to work in Utah, and he had an affair.
Yes?
And when I found out, I moved out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
That's his handwriting.
That is inconsistent with the notary's logbook.
Well, his log states that just one individual came.
Correct, and that's Miss Donovan, and she signed the cemetery affidavit.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Larry Huffine claims ex-girlfriend Geraldine Donovan forged documents so she could switch around his prepaid grave plots.
So things were going absolutely fine until that time.
To me, they were.
And to you?
No, before I told her in the beginning of '99 she would be moving to start saving her money up and get her a place.
When did you tell her that?
Probably February.
Tell me about the conversation that you had with her.
It took place. She told me she was going to move her daughter back in, and I said, no, she's not. And she says, well, if she's not moving back in, I'm moving out. And I said, well, I have to go to Utah till the end of August. When I come back, have your own place.
Why did you not want her to move her daughter back in?
Many different reasons. Her daughter was very disrespectful. She was 19 years of age. She was experiencing an ecstasy drug, and I didn't want to be around it. And I told her no, and she could not accept that answer.
And that was in February?
That was in February. She knew.
After February, did you continue to live as a family with the defendant?
Yes.
Well, then how did she know you were serious?
Because when I told her she was moving out, I was very serious. She knew that.
Okay. Was your daughter living with you in January of 1999?
I don't believe so.
Was there a time when she was planning on moving back in 1999?
I don't remember.
Okay. It is your claim, Ms. Donovan, that the plaintiff agreed to switching of these plots. And according to your answer, you have an expert witness who is prepared to testify with regard to that. I'd like to hear the witness. Is that you?
Yes.
Step up, please. Witness been sworn, Berg?
Witness has been sworn, Your Honor.
Tell me your name.
Andrea McNichol.
Miss McNichol, when did you become familiar with the defendant?
Well, I actually just by telephone on May 8th, 2003.
And what did she tell you?
She asked me to examine a document, I guess you're calling that the cemetery plot document that was notarized. I asked her for the original. It's always best to examine the original. She called back later and said she made an attempt to get the original, that they would not make it available. I told her that anything that I could find would have to be contingent on that the copies that I looked at were true representations of the original. In other words, sometimes you get the original and you see that someone had cut and pasted something on there, or there are things on that that you cannot see when you see the copies. After that, she provided a large sampling of signatures. I told her to get the signatures of Larry Huffine and the notary.
Okay, this letter from the notary. Did you, in fact, examine the signature on the notary?
Yes.
And you concluded that the signature on the notary was the same?
Yes.
To my naked eye, the J's are totally different.
Well, if you'll notice on the letter, he writes his J's 4 times.
Well, he wrote it because he evidently looked at this. You've seen this logbook?
Yes.
It is clear that according to the notary's logbook, he did, in fact, notarize something for Miss Donovan.
Correct. But I would like to call your attention to the fact that I was also provided a large sampling of his signatures, not just the one.
May I see them, please?
Yes. Actually, I prepared this whole report. This is the copy they made for you.
Now, that's what I'm looking at. Well, clearly, his signature on this document, which has nothing to do with this case, but I'm just looking at the signature, the J is different from the J on this document. Let's take a look.
I don't find it different.
Let's take a look.
You never sign your name the same way twice.
Let's take a look. No, but this J is totally backwards.
It's
and
my
that's
opinion
totally
that
different.
That's his handwriting.
I'm just asking you about the J.
Okay,
That's
well,
totally different.
This other document, he signs, in my opinion, with several shapes to the letter J.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
This doesn't strike you as being strange?
Yes, it does.
Somebody sends an I love you greeting card and signs it, love Larry Huffine?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Larry Huffine says ex-girlfriend Geraldine Donovan switched around his prepaid grave plots without his permission.
What do you say is his handwriting in this?
Just the notary box.
In this?
Just in the notary box. Now, unless the whole notary area was cut and pasted on here, this is his handwriting in this lower
Which is a
corner.
possibility.
Yes, without seeing the original, it is a possibility.
That is inconsistent, however, with his log.
Right, but his contention...
No, not his contention, but it's inconsistent with his log.
Well, his log states that just one individual came in.
Correct. Just one individual, and that's Miss Donovan, and she signed a cemetery affidavit. Okay. And it is your opinion that the signature on this cemetery document is his signature?
Yes.
Would you go over there and bring that board up closer to me so that I can see it?
I do have original documents, if you'd like to see them.
Okay, so the question signature from this cemetery document is at the top.
Okay.
Okay, now I have not had the opportunity to examine the original, but if the copy shows that there was not a cut and paste and that this ink was placed upon the paper, then these signatures match exactly to these other signatures.
Some of these are from checks and some of these are from other things.
Correct.
Cards, greeting cards, etc.
Yes.
Okay. Put that back, please, Miss McNichol. I'd like you up here, please. Are you telling me that you made your decision based on the documents that the defendant gave you?
Yes.
And one of the documents that she gave you was a greeting card. I have it here, Hallmark greeting card. I'd like to see the original. Bert, would you hand me the original, please?
I think that's all of them. There's several originals.
I just want to look at the greeting card.
A little strange with a love and a full name.
Isn't it?
This
is the one. Miss McNichol, this doesn't strike you as being strange?
Yes, it does.
Somebody sends an I love you greeting card and signs it, love, Larry Huffine?
And
He signed every card he ever gave me.
Everything she gave me was like
Larry D. Huffine, Larry Huffine, always.
3700, love, Larry Huffine.
I can only go on what's presented to me.
I understand. Thank you very much. Good. Now I will hear from your daughter. She's been dying to say something. I'm going to hear from you.
Your Honor, you have a letter right in front of you from the cemetery saying that the document is an original document.
No, it's not an original. I don't have an original.
It's a true.
It is a true.
I do not have an original.
The city of Las Vegas will not release it.
I do not have an original,
No,
and neither, listen to me, and neither did your forensic expert have an original. Now, your forensic expert could have seen the original, but your forensic expert does not have the original.
No, that's not what I'm referring to, ma'am.
Fine.
I'm referring to you have a letter before you.
I understand what you told me, that some clerk said that this is a copy of the original. I understand what you're saying to me. You're not going to be able to change that your forensic expert did not have the original. I have to make a judgment, and my judgment is based on several things. I believe, Ms. McNichol, that you are a qualified expert in the field of forensics. I believe that you were quite honest with me when you said that you did not have the original, and that perhaps, had you had the original, your judgment would have been different. Without having the original, you believe the copy of the document that I have is Larry Huffine's signature. I disagree with you. I have to ask myself why someone who had so carefully planned for the death of his entire family would have permitted a scenario where a stranger could be buried next to him. That's one thing. The timing of this letter is also very important. Miss Donovan would have me believe that Mr. Huffine would, during a time of domestic strife, be so kind as to permit the defendant and her daughter to move into a situation where a stranger is occupying the cemetery plots that he has bought and paid for. That doesn't make sense. And if it doesn't make sense, it's usually not true. So I do not believe that he ever agreed to this. Now, I also find most bizarre a love card that is signed, Love, Larry Huffine. But some people maybe that's strange, and it is possible that that's strange. I have to make a judgment based upon what has a ring of truth to it. What has a ring of truth to it is Miss Donovan's daughter wanted to be close to her mother and close to the teenage boyfriend. And she persuaded her mother, who knew she was on her way out of this relationship, to forge this signature. I believe that that's what happened. And since I'm the final arbiter, because that's where you've put this case, your counterclaim, Miss Donovan, for damages due to defamation of character and slander are dismissed, and I am awarding Mr. Huffine the $5,000 that he has requested, which is the maximum possible allowance that this court can grant him, although I don't know how he can ever rectify the situation that has occurred with the cemetery plot. I doubt very much whether he can, and for that I am, sir, sincerely sorry. That's all. This case is over.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thank you, Your Honor.
To be accused of forgery and fraud is not very pleasant.
She is good at gluing stuff on and whiting things out. I've seen her do it on prescriptions before.
He has a new wife now. I believe that she is very upset that there's not going to be a place for her.
She's evil. That's all there is to it.
She's a professional con.
I've never had the deed, never seen the deed, never been in possession of the deed.
Just thank you, Judge Judy, for doing the right thing.
Her world was falling apart.
Her husband had locked her out of the house. Suzanne's been going through a nasty divorce. Suzanne is a recovering alcoholic.
I was not drinking.
Her attorney said if she took so much as one drink, she would lose her son.
Neighbors who got too close. Did they get burned?
She punched me in the jaw.
Judge Judy.
We were drug into this woman's life.
She can't drag you anywhere.
Illustrator Maggie Bailey is suing her former friend, telemarketer Suzanne Bohan, for punching her in the mouth, breaking her teeth.
Yeah, this is case number 220 on the calendar in the matter of Bailey versus Bohan. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
Ms. Bailey, it is your claim that you befriended the defendant when she needed a friend, and she expressed her gratitude for your friendship by punching you in the mouth and breaking a tooth. You want her to compensate you for that.
Correct.
Ms. Bohan says that it was you who instigated this argument by poking her and punching her in the chest, and she merely responded, and there was no way that she could have caused any damage to your tooth. How do you know each other?
We were neighbors. We lived across the street from each other, and we became close friends over the course of several months.
How did that happen?
My husband and I came home one evening, and Suzanne was sitting out on her front curb crying, and it was early December. It was really cold out, and she was just in her pajamas. And I walked across the street to check on her and see if she wanted to come in the house and warm up, and she told us that she had just had a fight with her husband and her mother-in-law, and that her husband had locked her out of the house.
Do you have children?
Yes.
How many children?
2.
How old are they?
One is almost 3. The other is my stepson. He's almost 12.
Separated from your husband now, or are you together?
Getting back together.
When did this incident occur with your tooth?
March 28th.
Tell me what happened.
Suzanne had been very ill about a week prior to that evening, and she had been to a counseling session with her husband that day, and in the course of the counseling session mentioned that she had to leave because she had to go to the doctor. And she was afraid to go to the doctor by herself, so she called my husband to meet her at her doctor's because it was right by his job. He did that. Her husband then called me and said that he had just walked in on the two of them hugging and kissing. So, quite honestly, I was pretty upset with that.
Mm-hmm.
I called my husband and said, I suggest that you come home right now and explain to me the phone call I just got.
Mm-hmm.
He came home, and when we walked up to the house, there was really loud music. We knocked several times, and it took, 3 or 4 knocks before she finally came to the door. And it was obvious to us, because of the time that we have spent with Suzanne, that she was drunk. She let us in the house, and instantly she was attitudinal with me.
Well, what did you say to her?
I said, we'd like to talk to you. And she said, well, I'm busy fixing my son dinner. And this was like at 9 o'clock at night. And I made a comment, well, don't you think it's kind of late to be feeding your child? Shouldn't you have been doing that a lot earlier rather than drinking? Well, she took exception to that. And in the meantime, my husband was asking the neighbor to leave because he was the one that had brought the alcohol into the home. And Suzanne...
So your husband said to her guest, leave the house?
Yes. He said, you're not being the kind of friend that Suzanne needs. Suzanne's been going through a nasty divorce.
I got it.
Anyway, I told her that Brian had called me, and I told her what Brian had said to me, which is
Brian
her
is
husband.
the husband?
Yes. And she said, you're a liar. He never said anything like that. And I said, well, then let's get him on the telephone and you can find out. Well, I called him, and he could tell as soon as he heard her voice that she was drunk. And so he said, sounds like all of you are partying, so you should go home and go to bed. And he wouldn't talk to us. And I don't remember what her exact comment was, but I was doing this.
You were pointing in her face?
I was pointing at her. I wasn't in her face, I was pointing at her. And she said, get your blank finger out of my face. And I said, I said something. And out of nowhere, she came around with her right arm and punched me in the jaw.
And broke a tooth?
It knocked my bottom jaw into my upper jaw. It broke my bottom tooth, my bottom molar, and it broke 2 teeth in my upper denture.
First of all, what is the show and tell that I have here on the desk?
These are gifts that I received from Maggie after that night. However, I'd like to clarify a couple of
These are gifts that you received.
These are gifts that were brought over before Maggie knew she was leaving her husband, and she wanted my son to have this.
She brought your son over that.
She brought over that and some animal crackers, some fishy crackers, and some candles. But first of all, I'd like to clarify, I did not have my son that evening, and my son was not home. I was not drinking. My friend was on a way to a party, and he had some alcohol that he was going to bring down the street to a block party. So I was not drinking that night. Need to make that real clear. And when we heard them pounding on the door, they keyed into the house. I didn't answer the door. They let themselves in with a house key of mine. And so at that time, when I walked in the kitchen, that's when I saw Maggie and her husband standing there. And Maggie came at me and started pointing right at my nose and then pushing on my chest with her pointer finger, going, listen, young lady, you better start telling me the truth. And I just went like this, like, get your hand away from me. And told them that I wanted to go to bed, that it was too late for them to be over and they needed to go home.
And that was it.
Mm-hmm.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The first thing he said to me was, Earl, don't be upset. We're having a dancing party. And he was drunk as a pig, and so was she.
And later today...
You washed the bowl by hand?
Correct.
And she washed the bowl by hand. How do you know she broke your bowl?
Because it was in perfect condition.
How do I know that?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Maggie Bailey says former friend Suzanne Bohan punched her in the mouth in a drunken rage.
Can I see your dental bills, please? Mr. Bailey, I'd like you to stand up, please, sir.
Oops, I'm sorry.
Mr. Bailey, you understand that you had no right to tell this neighbor to leave her house.
You bet. Yes, ma'am.
I just want you to understand that. Just because you befriend somebody and you do things that are nice for them doesn't give you a license to run their life.
Your Honor, I'm not sure I agree with that. We were drug into this woman's life for 4 months through this divorce she went through. We dealt with
How old are you, sir?
Pardon me? 47.
How old are you?
35.
Okay. How tall are you?
5'10".
How tall are you?
Almost 4'11".
Okay. She can't drag you anywhere.
True.
You can only become involved in somebody else's life if you permit yourself to be involved in their life, sir.
I agree. And we did that.
You may have been, for totally altruistic reasons, befriended her.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't say you were sucked in. You weren't sucked in.
No, we were not.
You chose
That's
to become
correct.
involved. Okay. That still doesn't give you license. If you don't like her actions, then what you do is you cut it off and fold your arms. You cut it off. Are you and your wife in the process of separating?
Certainly not.
No.
Or not?
Or not.
Okay, good. Well, that's what she seemed to indicate.
Well,
All right, she was wrong.
a lot of what she indicated is take it for what it's worth.
I just wanted to know. Okay. So I have to make a determination, Miss Bohan, whether or not you assaulted the plaintiff in either this kind of motion or, as you indicated, this kind of motion, and whether either one of those motions causes you to be responsible for $2,800 worth of dental work. The person who was at your house, is that Bob?
Mm-hmm.
What time did he leave?
I'm not exactly sure what time it was.
Before or after they left?
He left, well, because when they arrived, they were in a heated argument, and Earl made it very clear he did not want Bob in the house, so Bob took off and went to his other party.
Your Honor, may I speak?
Sure.
I'd like to qualify what she's saying, if you don't mind. When we did not key our way into the home, first of all. That did not happen.
How did you get
The
there?
keys were returned to this woman weeks before this, by way of putting them under her doormat.
Fine. Okay.
We got in because she opened the door. She opened the door after repeated pounding on the door, because the music was extremely loud. I walked in the home, and I found Mr. Krevlin hiding in the garage. The first thing he said to me was, Earl, don't be upset. We're having a dancing party. And he was drunk as a pig, and so was she. And I said, Bob, you're not being a friend to her. Take your liquor and go home. This woman has issues with drinking. You know it. I know it. This is not being a friend.
How did you know she had issues with drinking, Mr. Bailey?
Because she repeatedly told us of her issues with drinking. Repeatedly.
Yes.
During the course of becoming friends with Suzanne, she asked me to go to court with her several times for her divorce case and child custody case. And her attorney made it very clear, because Suzanne is a recovering alcoholic, that if she took so much as one drink, she would lose her son.
Is that true?
Yes.
I find that the plaintiff has sustained her burden, at least to my satisfaction, that the injuries were caused by the defendant, who was probably drunk as a skunk, and I'm awarding her the amount of the dental bill, which is $2,868. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
The friendship went south when Maggie thought I was having an affair with her husband.
Unfortunately, I'm a person that tries to help people, so just be careful, I guess. Go with your eyes wide open.
The drinking was not an issue.
I'd do it again for another friend. I would.
They were terrific friends at the time when I needed help.
I felt that we were used by Suzanne, and, we tried to be a friend to her and pretty much got slapped in the face for it.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Harris versus Moore. Step forward, please.
James and Beverly Harris are suing business owner Ruth Moore for the cost of their wedding china. The Harrises claim workers from Ruth's catering company damaged several of their pieces.
Mr. and Mrs. Harris, according to what I read, you were having a dinner for approximately 20 or 25 people, is that right?
Yes.
And you hired the defendant's firm to provide 2 servers for the dinner. It is your claim that someone from the defendant's organization damaged some serving pieces of yours, and you found one piece, I assume one of those little pieces over there, those little pieces of glass, in the garbage, thrown away, broken. You want them to pay you $2,321.96. Ms. Moore, how much did the Harrises pay you for the service that you provided?
The Harrises paid the servers directly because they're independent contractors.
And how much did they pay them?
I don't have it in my head.
How much did they pay you?
$110 a piece, plus a gratuity of $25 each.
Have you ever had people serving for you before?
Yes.
From where?
My 3 daughters.
Not your 3 daughters. I'm talking about independent people.
Not on the scale that this party was. I've had my housekeeper help.
Okay. Now, let me see the pieces that you say were damaged.
This is one of the pieces, which is a Dawn water pitcher that is chipped in the front.
Mm-hmm. And what did you use this for?
Water.
And did you place the water pitcher on the table?
The water pitchers, I believe, started off on the table, yes.
And did anyone serve the water other than the servers?
No.
Is that true?
No, not at all.
Stand up.
Thank you.
Tell me your name.
My name is Aaron. I was one of the servers there at the event, and I witnessed 2 of the people not at their table, at the other table closer to the kitchen. I actually noticed one man and one woman, I don't know their names, they're not my friends, but refill their own glasses of water.
Of course they did.
Thank you.
Of course they did. Put that back. Let me see the rest of the damage.
This is a glass bowl that I had purchased just before the event. It has 3 chips in it. This was the piece that came inside of it, which I did not use, that still has the tape mark on it from where the 2 pieces were taped together.
And this was the first time you had used it?
Yes, it is.
Did you wash it first?
Yes.
How did you wash it?
In my sink.
And who washed that bowl?
I did, ma'am.
How did you wash that bowl?
I washed that bowl in her sink by hand.
Okay. You washed the bowl by hand?
Correct.
And she washed the bowl by hand. How do you know she broke your bowl?
Because it was in perfect condition.
How do I know that?
Because I could see that.
How do I know that? What I'm trying to get to you, Mr. and Mrs. Harris, is when you have help in your house, because I read your complaint, when you have help in your house and you have 25 people that you are entertaining, how do I know, for instance, that the piece of glass that you one of these pieces that was holding toothpicks that you say you found in the garbage, how do I know that one of your 25 guests didn't do it? How do I know that? I've had people serving before. Sometimes a glass chips, sometimes a plate chips, sometimes a serving piece chips. I would never in my life think of suing the servers for $2,500 because I was dumb enough to use a $2,000 pitcher and serve my company with it. And I don't understand where you're coming from. You think that these two people should give you $2,000? You paid them $135, they should give you $2,000?
These people were deceitful, Your Honor, and that's what leads me to believe that this happened because of their negligence.
Just a second. You explain to me how they were deceitful, Mr. Harris.
In the letter that we...
Show me the letter that you're talking about.
In the letter that we were sent by one of the servers, she explains that when they're finished with...
Well, let me see the letter you sent her.
We didn't send her a letter. This was a response to my call to the company stating that we had, the next morning when we were putting the items away, that we had found that these dishes were chipped and one of them was missing. So I immediately called the company because I wanted to let them know right away.
I mean, is this what you say, Mr. Harris, is deceitful? Regarding the shot glass, I have no knowledge as to its eventual whereabouts. I recall using two toothpicks with an appetizer and washing one, air and drying one, putting it away. I really didn't give it much thought.
No, Your Honor, that's not what I'm referring to.
Well, that's something that's yellow highlighted.
What I'm referring to is where they say that all the items that they washed were laid out on a table for inspection.
They may have been laid out on a table. I don't know whether you inspected them or not.
Right.
But they said that that's what they were laid out.
That's what. Why would they take this one item and put it back into the display case?
Which item?
The broken piece.
Listen,
there were two of them that they used.
You sound like Sherlock Holmes. You sound ridiculous, Mr. Harris. You sound ridiculous. She says, I don't know what I did with it. I dried one. Maybe we put it back in the display case. You had 25 people. This was for a Passover dinner, according to what I've read.
That's correct.
How many courses did you serve?
3.
3. So that's a minimum of 75 dishes. So you had at least 100 pieces, one time or another, coming, going, being washed, put down, reused, and whatever. You want them to remember what they did with a little shot glass like that? What, are you out of your minds? Listen, grow up. Grow up. You had company, something got broken. You two nice people who did a very stupid thing by suing them because it's the most ridiculous thing I ever heard.
Your
It's
Honor.
nobody's fault but yours. If you choose to use a $2,000 down pitcher to serve 25 people and it gets chipped, that's your problem. Don't visit it on them. Don't visit it on me. Don't visit it on Bird. And if your daughters do a better job, then next time use your daughters to serve. Your case is dismissed. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It was quite a shock. I've never in 23 years had such an outlandish claim.
There was insurance on the property, but I felt it wasn't our responsibility to put a claim in.
I don't believe that we were negligent in any way. I've worked for her company for almost 5 years, and I have never had a complaint against me.
They left all of our items out on the table except for the one shot glass, which we found in the trash broken.
People hire us because of our professionalism, and to be sued over chipped ceramic pieces and glass pieces is absurd to me.
He thought they would be together forever. The time they shared was special. Now he wants the love of his life back.
Stop getting hysterical. It's an ATV.
His all-terrain vehicle.
Kids in the neighborhood seeing these boys driving it.
There was no chain on it, no loss.
That doesn't mean that you can take it because it's not chained to the meter.
Judge Judy.
Don't get hysterical. If you don't want to make this a very sad day in your life, pay attention.
37-year-old arborist Tom Vile is suing Carol Zammit and Catherine Smith for the cost of a quad runner. Tom claims the defendant's 16-year-old sons stole the vehicle.
Your Honor, this is case number 236 on the calendar in the matter of Vile versus Zamet Smith.
Who's bothering you?
That lady over there.
Raise your hand if you're bothering Bird. Stop it.
Thank you, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats.
Stop it or step out.
There you go.
Who's Miss Zamet?
I am, Your Honor.
And you're Miss Smith?
Yes.
Which one is your son?
Tony's my son. This one right here.
Why don't you two lovely ladies sit down and let these two gentlemen come up here and see what I can do with, for, and to them. What is your first name?
Tony.
How old are you, Tony?
16. I'm 16 also.
You have a name.
Andy.
The reason I asked these two young men to come up here is because their parents don't really know what happened here because they weren't involved. They just relay what their children tell them. Isn't that right?
Correct.
Okay. You purchased an all-terrain vehicle.
Yes, Your Honor.
It was a used one.
Yes.
And you left it in your yard?
Yes.
You came back after being gone for a week or so and you found that it was gone.
Correct.
Somehow they came into possession of your ATV.
That's correct.
And according to you, they damaged it substantially so that it really can't be used, and you want them to pay a substantial amount of money. They're parents.
Yes.
The parents say that the boys really did some creative decorating of your ATV. That's their answer, that they painted it and made it nice. But then somebody stole it from you, and those people that took it from you must be responsible for the damage. Is that what I'm getting?
Yes, Your Honor.
So, here we go. When did you purchase this ATV?
On May 16th this year, because I got a job in Lake Arrowhead, and it calls for an all-terrain vehicle.
And from whom did you purchase it?
My father.
And how much did you pay him for it?
$12.50.
You don't have a bill of sale, do you?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it.
This is actually a paper trail from the original owner.
Okay, I'd like to see it. Good. I love when people come prepared. Okay, do you live in a house, sir?
Yes, I live with my mom.
Is that where you brought the ATV?
No, I bought it at my yard where I keep all my equipment.
What
at
yard?
this place right here. I am a groundskeeper at this Buddhist temple. In exchange, I keep my equipment there.
Let me see it.
And this is the front entry of where I drive in, and it's posted private property, no trespassing. These boys are trespassing.
Let me see. Okay, so you left this ATV on the grounds of a Buddhist temple.
Yes.
You work as a groundskeeper?
I keep the grounds up. In exchange, I get to keep my equipment there. I'm an arborist. I keep all my equipment there.
Okay, fine. Good. Now, you got it on the 16th.
Yes.
And you put it there.
Yes.
When did you go looking for it again?
Oh, that week I got a... I didn't get this newspaper article just till recently, but this is where I went. I talked to the U.S. Forestry Department in San Bernardino, California, and there's over 1 million dead trees, and I want to go down there and help them remove the trees.
This is not show and tell.
I'm not saying this is show and tell. This is why I bought the quad.
Put it down, please. I asked you a very simple question, Mr. Vile. Where did you go and when?
I went to San Bernardino, Lake Arrowhead.
And when did you go there?
The week after I purchased the quad. I parked it up there with all my other equipment. I left.
Okay. And when did you come back?
Another couple weeks later.
So about 3 weeks went by.
Not 3 weeks, no. I went for a week to see what's going on in Lake Arrowhead so I can assist them with my services. I came back, the quad was gone.
Let me tell you what you wrote, sir, in your complaint. You say you purchased this 1986 Yamaha quad on May 16th, and you parked it on private property on May 18th. Then I went to Big Bear to do some work on the 19th and returned home a few weeks later. That's what you wrote.
That's irrelevant. This is private property.
Don't tell me what's irrelevant. I'll tell you what's relevant. I want you to try to answer my questions as best as you can. The questions that I have, not the things that are on your agenda, which are not relevant as to why you went to work on trees. You purchased it on the 16th. I want to know when you left, and when you left it on the grounds of the temple, and when you returned.
I returned about a week and a half later. And that's why I didn't have enough time to register it when I got back.
I know you have your own agenda as far as your testimony, because what you're telling me is not relevant. What's relevant is when you left it there and when you came back and saw it missing. That's what I wanted to know. Did you file a police report?
No, I didn't.
Why not?
Because it's a small community. I drove around, looked at garages, just waiting for someone to drive in front of me. And I have a lot of eyes around the neighborhood, a lot of kids in the neighborhood. They know I had the quad. They gave me a note on my truck that they seen these boys driving it. And that's when I responded.
What date did you get the note on your truck?
I don't have the date. Well, actually, I do. It's on the police report because that
Can I
same day.
see the police report, please?
I don't have the police report.
We have
Can I
a
see
copy
it,
of the
please?
police report. You'll notice that it's found property, not stolen also.
Yes. You stole the property. Let me explain something to you. Don't make any excuses to me. You stole the property.
It was a mistake.
When you take property that doesn't belong to you, that's stealing.
We didn't think it was, like there was no chain on it, there's no lock,
Listen,
there's
let
no
me
fence.
explain something to you. Let me explain something. I'm going to get to you in 1 second, but I want to tell you something. If you don't want to make this a very sad day in your life, you're not going to make excuses. You took property that didn't belong to you. When I grew up, that was called stealing. A car is not chained to its parking space, right? And if somebody leaves a car in a parking space and just happens to go into a store and leaves the keys in the car, that doesn't mean it's abandoned, that you can take it because it's not chained to the meter. We understand each other?
Yeah, we have.
Good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Let us assume that instead of a quad, all of a sudden your boy shows up and in the driveway is an automobile.
We didn't bring it.
Just a minute. This is my scenario, not yours.
They did not bring it back and put it.
Pay attention.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tom Vile says 16-year-olds Tony Zammit and Andrew Smith stole his quad runner. The teens say the vehicle was abandoned at a Buddhist temple.
Okay, so you told the police that you found it abandoned in a hill area behind the Buddhist church on approximately May 23rd. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you wrote it.
Yes. It had no battery, and the ignition was broken, and we had to bump start it. We had to roll it and then start it. And then we parked it about 100 yards away from where it was, and then we came back the next day because the seat was falling off and the wheel. So we tightened the bolts, and then we painted the plastics because they were weathered because it was originally red, and it faded to pink and white. And then we went back the next day, and it was gone.
Yeah, we're making it kind of like a little project or like fixing it up. If anything, we made it better. We didn't break anything on it.
You want to say something?
The pictures that we have, Your Honor, show that what it looks like behind, because you could come down out of the hills where the kids ride their bikes, and you're right on to this dirt area. So it doesn't look like it's a contained area.
Doesn't have to be a contained area, madam. Let us assume that instead of a quad, this was a car. Okay?
Okay.
And all of a sudden, your boy shows up, and in the driveway is an automobile. And you say to him, where'd you get that from? He said, well, I was riding my bike up behind the Buddhist temple, and there was this car sitting there, and it wasn't attached to anything. And the starter wasn't working, and the color was faded. We looked around, nobody was there, so we jump-started it, and we brought it home because we want to make a project out of fixing it up.
We didn't bring it.
Just a minute. This is my scenario, not yours. You didn't bring it home, you hid it. You moved it from one location to another. You following my scenario? They brought it back and put it in your driveway, right?
Correct.
Okay. No, they did not bring it back and put it in the driveway.
Pay attention. I said I am making up a scenario for Miss Zammit.
Right.
That the boys found a car in the same area, right here. That the car was faded, its seat was wiggly. You had to use a screwdriver to start it, but they brought it home because the boys wanted to make a project out of fixing up this car. Are you getting me, Miss Zammit?
Yes.
Would the first thing that you do call the police and say, I want to know if this car is registered to anybody?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
They didn't do that.
The boys actually have their own off-road vehicles.
I don't care what they have. They didn't do it. If they had called to find out if this car was titled, your sons would have found out that there was a name attached to this ATV. They chose not to do that. They chose to take the ATV and move it from one location to another. That's called larceny. The day you found this vehicle, was that the day you told your mother about it?
No, we told
No. The answer is no. When did you tell your mother about it?
after he came to our house.
Right. When did you tell your mother that you took it and moved it?
When he came to his house, we got a phone call.
Same time.
Right. Where is this ATV now?
It's in my neighbor's yard, just trashed.
It's in your neighbor's yard, just trashed. Okay.
I got a
Yeah,
picture.
just a second. Just a second. Stop getting hysterical. It's an ATV. Don't get hysterical. It's not. You're well. You know. You don't have a life-threatening illness.
That's
Don't
why, not why I'm
just,
here.
just a second. Put your hand down. You have to accept responsibility for what you do. Your sons just bought an ATV, and they bought it for what he paid for it, which was $1,250. Not for what he wants for it, which is $2,650.
That's the cost of the repairs, Your Honor.
Listen to me. Buy another one. They just bought this one for $1,250, and they can fix it up to their heart's content. Do you understand?
Yes.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,250. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm just aggravated that their parents didn't take responsibility to correct them.
I think it was an honest mistake. We didn't know that he owned it.
They're not remorseful. It's sickening.
I'll just leave other people's properties alone.
I don't think they got the message loud and clear.
The boys are very clear now that if something's in question, don't touch. Don't touch.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Robinson versus Hill. Step forward, please.
Legal Secretary Carol Robinson is suing her son, Auto Shop District Manager Joseph Hill, for a series of unpaid loans. Joseph says the money was a gift.
Miss Robinson, Mr. Hill is your son.
Yes, ma'am.
And it is your claim that while separated from his wife, he accrued a series of loans from you to pay his bills, other expenses, including child support. Your son says that there was never an agreement that the money that you did, in fact, advance him to pay his bills was a loan, that you agreed to help him out, and that you're only angry because he went back to his wife. Is that what you're saying, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
How old are you?
28.
How many years have you been married?
A little over 3 years.
You have children?
Yes, ma'am, one son.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a district manager for an auto mechanic shop
And how long have you been doing that?
for about 3 years.
Now, I want you to tell me about what happened after you and your wife separated.
Well, when we separated, we were both working. We were both working, so there were a little more bills than my income could pay for. My mother was there to help me out.
Specifically, I want you to tell me what you did. You separated from your wife. Where did you go?
I stayed in the family home. My wife left.
And when did she leave? What month, what year?
May of this year.
Where did she go?
She went to her grandparents' house.
With your child?
Yes, ma'am.
Leaving you in the house. Now, is this a rental house or is this something?
It's a rental house, yes, ma'am.
And what's the rent?
$850 a month.
And how much were you earning at the time, sir?
I earn about $1,440 every 2 weeks is my gross income.
Now, tell me about this conversation that you had with your mother when she started to help you.
She agreed that she would help me to where
Tell me about the conversation. Now, I'll decide whether she agreed to help you. Okay, tell me about the conversation.
Well, it came to the point where we were discussing the finances at my house. She had told me that she would help me to take care of my bills, to bring my bills to her, bring her my paychecks every 2 weeks, and she would pay my bills. She did make a loan to me at one point in time for an attorney, which has already been settled and taken care of between me and her.
How much was that?
$2,500.
Is that right?
That is correct.
And he paid you back?
Not yet.
We have a settlement agreement to pay that back.
Settlement agreement from where?
That she wrote up and I signed that I would pay it back over the course of the next however many months at $100 a month.
When did you do that?
Roughly about 3 weeks ago.
Do you have a copy of that?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see it, please. Oh, so she had sued you for this.
Yes, ma'am.
But your lawyer was only $2,500.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right? So why did you agree to pay her on $4,425?
There was past issues of finances where she had loaned me money to pay off a probation officer that I also agree that I do owe her.
How much was the probation officer?
$1,900.
Okay. Now tell me about this other money that she says she laid out for you for other bills, and it's clear, you agree, Miss Robinson, am I correct, that he was turning over his paycheck to you?
Yes, ma'am.
And you were paying the bills?
Yes, ma'am.
You were paying his rent?
Yes, ma'am.
You were paying child support?
Yes, ma'am.
How much child support?
I believe there were 3 payments that I made in the amount of $280 plus a $5 charge for the cashier's check. And there were past due bills that were his and his wife's.
What about the $14.40 he gave you biweekly? What'd you do with that?
It was not $14.40. His net pay is $1,023.07 every other week.
Is that right?
That's roughly.
Okay, so that's $2,000 a month. That's plenty of money to pay his rent. Plenty of money to pay the last 2 payments of child support. Where's that money?
The cell phone bill was quite large every month.
Well, tell me what the cell phone bill was.
There were 3 months that I paid, $419.15.
Just a second. What was one cell phone for $400 a month?
I'm a district manager. I have 10 stores that I have to stay in touch with on a regular basis throughout the day.
Well, then your company pays for that.
They reimburse a small portion.
Then you take care of that. Then you give that back to your mom. We're paying legitimate expenses for which you do not get reimbursed. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And when you took his paycheck, and you took his paycheck since June?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right? Did you tell him each month when he went over what he had given you?
Yes, ma'am. I showed him the check register and how low my funds, my own personal funds, were getting. And he says, "Don't worry, Mom." He says, "I'll pay it all back."
He already owed you $4,400, Miss Robinson. Some of it he owed you for more than a year. How could you legitimately believe that your son was going to pay you back for all this stuff when he hadn't even paid you back money that he owed you for a year and a half? How did you legitimately believe? I'm asking your legitimate expectation that your son was going to have more money to pay you back when he hadn't fulfilled what you claim, and in a settlement, you say were obligations that existed almost 2 years. Come on, let's be real. When did you stop giving your mother your salary check?
Beginning to mid-July.
So that's June and half of July. That's a month and a half, and it is your claim, madam, I'm just curious, it's your claim that in the month and a half you laid out for him, for which you were not reimbursed by his salary checks, $4,313.50. Is that right?
That is correct.
I don't believe you. I don't believe you. And I don't believe that you had a legitimate expectation in that month and a half that he was going to be able to pay you back if, in fact, you laid that out for him. I don't believe that. I believe that you said, "I'll help you out. I'll pay your bills. Give me your salary. I'll try to act as your accountant and make sure that all of these bills are paid and in some organized fashion." Was it your wife who was responsible for paying the bills in your house, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
So you didn't know how to do that?
Not very good with money.
No, okay. So you gave, instead of giving your wife the money, you gave your mother the money?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that what happened?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, you shouldn't have done it, Miss Robinson. He's your son. That's what you're supposed to do. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It was a very sad situation. It's one that's disrupted our entire family.
She doesn't like my wife. When me and her decided to try to work things out civilly between us, whether we get back together or not, that's when she went in a rampage.
I was very upset.
I just think it's a shame that she's had to ruin the whole family and bring it like this.
I don't imagine he's going to let me see my grandchild anymore.
And I've been told that as far as I'm concerned with the family, I'm now dead.
He does know that I love him. I just don't like his ways.
A young mother.
So you got pregnant on purpose?
Yes.
That was pretty stupid.
In search for the father of her child.
Is there a strong possibility that this is your child?
I found out she slept with 2 men while we were together.
I assume that you want to know whether this is your child or not.
If it is mine, I'm going to fight for custody.
You fight to find out if this is your child.
Judge Judy.
The fact that you have turned away is very unkind to both her and this little girl.
Single parent's pretty difficult.
We're talking a year later, madam. What took you so long to get to court?
Well, it took me a while to get all of my things in order.
Look, just show this to the defendant, please. All right, now I've seen what kind of items you're talking about. I'll take the list back, Bert. We're talking about 2 oven mitts, a colander for spaghetti. We're talking about a cutlery tray, a blue-green tumbler, a toilet bowl brush, 4 ice cube trays, 2 plates, 2 bowls, 2 washcloths. So let's get to what happened on the 28th of August when you were escorted out.
I found out I was pregnant, and everything just started going downhill after that in the relationship. And he was working major hours at work while working. And one night I asked him if he was cheating on me, and he was like, "You're crazy." And that was the night prior to the 28th. And we got in a big fight that night. The next day, we were fighting all day. Later that night, he was picking me up to throw me out of our apartment when I was 2.5 months pregnant. And
Did you scratch him first?
No, I scratched him to put me down when he was literally picking me up to throw me out of our apartment. And then I went to the store with our roommate, and he called the police, and when we got back, the police were there, and they arrested me.
They arrested you because they saw evidence that you had assaulted him?
That I scratched him, yes. But I also had a bruise on my leg, but they told me that I could talk to the judge about that.
Did you plead guilty to assaulting him?
I pled not guilty, but then whenever I went for my actual court date, they told me that I would get a lesser sentence if I was to plead guilty. So yes, I pled guilty in the end.
When you were escorted out by the police, did you have an opportunity to get your clothes?
No.
When did you come back for your clothes?
I never did because he had gotten a restraining order, so my father and my brother went over there to get my things, and he had already packed them up. And I had a list for him, and they asked him about the other things, and he said that he got rid of them.
This is not a lot of stuff, madam.
It's not a lot of stuff.
This is nonsense stuff. It's ridiculous. Did he ever sue you for the assault?
No.
Call it even. Now let's get to the counterclaim.
Okay.
And let's get there fast.
To start, Your Honor, we had to move out of my mother's house because she made it so difficult. She couldn't keep a job. So therefore, all these items that she's bought pretty much came out of my wallet.
I already took care of that.
Oh, okay.
I'm talking about your counterclaim.
Okay.
Pay attention. We're over that.
The night before the police came out, she wanted to fight, and she wanted to do it in front of my roommate, which is out in the living room. That is when I picked her up. There was no picking up the day after. I picked her up, carried her into the room so we could talk because she likes to have a show and she likes to fight in front of people. She can't do it between me and her. So the next day, me and my roommate, we went out, came back. I looked out on the window ledge. A magazine of mine was spray painted, and I asked her, where is everything? And she told me she spray painted them, threw them away. At this point, I was a little upset. The police were called out. They were called out 3 times that day. First 2 times, they
What day are you talking about,
The 27th of August.
Of August, so the day before.
No, I'm sorry, it was the 28th.
What day did you spray paint his magazines?
I didn't spray paint his
What'd you do to the magazine?
I spray painted one magazine.
And what'd you do with it?
It was on the windowsill.
When? What date?
On the 28th.
Go ahead.
So they had to come out 3 times. The second time is when she really abused me. I had scratches all over my back that turned into a couple of scars. The third time they came out, a female officer came. She seen the scratches. She agreed to arrest her for domestic violence. Now, at this case, all I wanted her to do is just to leave. So that's why I didn't press charges. The state of Michigan is the one that pressed charges on her and put the restraining order.
I want to know what your counterclaim is about.
The due harassment, she found out that I had a girlfriend, and that's when all heck broke loose. She wrote a letter to my corporation.
Did you file? To your corporation?
Yes.
Let me see what she wrote to your corporation.
This was a couple of months after the court case happened. I also...
Shh. You wrote a letter to the defendant's employer. He has an employee living with him, an employee that works in the same store, and you are sure that that's against company policy. You give the employee's name. And then you say that he also has a mother and brother working for him. And I'm not sure that this is company policy or not, but it seems to me that this is unfair treatment to other employees and more favored towards those particular family members. And then you name them. Why in the world would you send this kind of letter?
That's what I put in there. I didn't say anything
Why
about...
in the world would you send this letter?
I don't know. I guess out of vengeance. I don't know.
There was no reason for you to write this letter except to harass him. Is that right?
I wasn't harassing him.
Of course you were. Well, who are you harassing? The corporation?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
If it is mine, I'm going to fight for custody.
Right now, instead of fighting for custody, why don't you fight to find out if this is your child?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Emily Allgaier says ex-boyfriend Ken Palazzola owes for the return of her belongings. Ken is countersuing, claiming Emily destroyed his magazine collection and slandered him at work.
What else?
I also had the police reports from for damaging my property.
I'm not interested in your magazine stuff.
She wasn't able to contact me, and she called me many times. And as soon as she found out that I was married is when all this took place.
Has she ever taken you to court to establish paternity of this child?
No, the front of the court's really slow. I just have to wait to be contacted by them.
So you did file lawsuit?
Yes, ma'am. Well, just for child support, yes.
Well, paternity, because he says he wants, I assume you want a blood test.
Yes, ma'am.
When did you file that lawsuit?
In the beginning of May of 2003.
In any event, I'm dismissing your claim because you have no case against him for this property. I do find, however, that this letter was sent maliciously and for no reason. You can't do that. You can't conduct business that way, young lady. I mean, the two of you were foolish enough after knowing each other for a few months and having a tumultuous relationship, you were foolish enough to get pregnant and have a child. That was pretty stupid, right?
Yes.
Now, you understand that if this is your child, is there a strong possibility that that's true?
I honestly, since then, find out she slept with 2 men while we were together while I was away on business at the time when the baby was conceived.
So you're not sure?
No, not at all.
Oh, okay.
That's what he heard from someone else, so...
Listen, truth of the matter is, you don't have to wait for the courts to go for a blood test. I assume that you want to know whether this is your child or not. Is that right?
The front of the court...
I assume that you want to know whether this is your child or not. Is that right?
Yes.
Because if this is your child, time's are wasted. You don't want to not have a relationship with your daughter, do you?
No.
So then why don't you make arrangements between the two of you to go and have a blood test?
Contacted the front of the court, and they said it was cheaper to go through them. So
cheaper for who? Cheaper for your daughter?
Cheaper for me.
Cheaper for him, but all the while he's missing out on his daughter's life.
If it is not mine, then I do not care.
But the point is, if it is your child, you don't want another year to go by without her knowing you.
No, but she also, if it is mine, I'm going to fight for custody because she...
You right now want, instead of fighting for custody, why don't you fight to find out if this is your child? So the difference is $400?
Yes.
And what's the name of the blood service there?
They sent it to Washington. I didn't bring that information with me.
Well, you're going to get the name of the lab because I think that you really want to know, don't you, whether this is your child or not?
Yes.
And that the sooner that happens, the better off you are. Is that right?
Yes.
So what we're going to do is, I'm awarding you $400 on your counterclaim, sir, because I believe that she did, in fact, harass you. But the check's going to be made payable to the blood bank. So the two of you and this little baby can go and have blood tested and find out whether or not this is your child. Does that sound reasonable to you?
Yes, ma'am.
That way you can find out. You got it?
I don't need to find out. He does.
No. You need to find out. When you have a child out of wedlock, stupidly, you're living at his mother's house. Did you get thrown out of his mother's house?
No, we didn't. It was my choice to move out.
And what about your house with your parents? Did you get thrown out of there initially?
Technically, not technically.
Not technically. And how old are you?
I'm 18.
And then when I read your complaint, you said he told you he wanted his life complete with a baby, so you got pregnant. This was not an accident.
No, it was not an accident.
Right. This was not an accident. This was an on purpose. Somebody who's 17 years old who has no job, who has no future.
I had a job. Yes, I had.
Didn't last long because, according to what I read, your job didn't last long because his mother said you shouldn't work so hard, so you quit your job.
Well, that was my second job.
Do you understand?
Yes, but
I believe it's more important for you to find out, for him to find out, whether this is his child than for you to get any money. Either of you. I don't understand why you would come in and sue over 2 potholders. Why you would come in and sue him over a spoon, a ladle, a green-blue dish, and you sue her over this letter, which clearly didn't damage your job, right?
Well, it did, because I had to take a couple of days off.
I sympathize with you, sir. Listen to me. If, in fact, this is your child, the fact that you have turned away and said, it's not my responsibility, is very unkind to both her and this little girl. So it seems to me a stand-up fellow would say, if this is my child, I want to know. And I want to know now, not 6 months from now, not 8 months from now. And then have the audacity to say, if it's mine, I'm going to fight for custody, whenever. But by that time, your daughter's 2 years old. She doesn't even know who you are.
Well, in defense of myself, the state did have a restraining order, so I was not able to contact the mother of the baby.
Well, you don't have to contact her. Go to court and file a lawsuit. They'll order a blood test.
Could I please? My mother did send him a certified letter letting him know that I did have the baby.
What difference does it make? If he says he's not sure that the baby is his, what difference does it make?
I don't know, but...
He wants to know. Instead of money for your harassment, he's going to take a test, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Yeah, I had a very, very good collection.
His porno magazines.
I know she's So
He hasn't seen his child, and she's 5 months old.
I don't think it's mine.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Flores versus Etty, step forward, please.
Business owner Wanda Flores is suing the father of her daughter's boyfriend, environmental technician Don Etty, for the value of a car. Wanda claims Don traded in her daughter's vehicle without her permission.
Miss Flores, is this your daughter?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that your son?
Yes, it is.
Miss Flores, your daughter and the defendant's son have a child together.
Yes.
Your daughter is
17.
And your son is?
18.
And how old is the child?
4 months.
So they were both underage when this child was conceived.
Yes.
In December of 2002, you claim that you gave your daughter an old car. In January of 2003, Mr. Etty took your daughter, I assume his son, down to a car dealership. Your daughter signed over the title. Mr. Etty purchased a newer car, right?
Yes.
He purchased it in his name, but with the understanding that the kids would be driving it and that your daughter and you would make the payments on the car.
Yes.
Then something happened and his son went to jail. And you claim that despite the fact that you and or your daughter were making payments on the car, Mr. Etty took the car back because it was in his name. And he says it got repossessed by the bank. So far, you following this, this Gone with the Wind?
I got it.
So what you want is the value of the car that you gave your daughter in December of 2002.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Etty tells a whole different story, which I'm going to let him get to. When you gave your daughter this car in 2002 in December, what date in December was it?
It was like a week before Christmas.
And where did you get the car from?
I've had it for years.
Was it running?
Yes. We just put a new front end on it. We really did a lot of work to it.
Did you have a conversation with Mr. Etty about trading in this car?
No, I didn't.
Did you give your daughter the title to the car?
No, I went, as soon as they got the car, they called me and asked me if I'd come and sign the title over.
Now I understand. So you gave them a gift, but there was an understanding with Mr. Etty that they were going to use that car as a trade-in.
Yes.
Okay. Now what was the agreement as far as payment?
The car was supposed to be put in their name. I know right now they couldn't put it in their name because they're teenagers. But William turns 18 in August.
At the time, they couldn't put the car in their name.
Yeah.
And they probably wouldn't give him a loan anyway.
Exactly.
So he put it in his name.
Yes.
What was the arrangement as far as payment was my question.
I was going to pay the payments with Michelle, and the car was supposed to be after they got old enough to put it back in their name.
Right. January, February, when was the car repossessed?
I don't know.
What month, Mr. Etty?
It was last month.
Why?
Because of default on payment.
How many payments were missed?
One.
Which payment?
April's
April.
payment, yes. Your Honor, was due on the 8th of every month.
And there was no payment made in April?
No.
And that's why you took the car back?
Yes, ma'am.
So you would agree that if she can prove to me that she made April's payment, you're in trouble, right?
Yes.
Show me.
I don't have any proof. I really don't.
So what am I supposed to do?
I think they deserve a car for their new baby.
Well, Miss Flores, that's nice. There used to be a program, called The Millionaire. You wait for John Beresford for Tipton to come knock at your door and give you $1 million, and then you go and buy whatever you like. You had an agreement. You had an agreement with Mr. Etty. Your agreement was that you would make the payments on this loan every month. He says that he repossessed the car because you did not make April's payment that was due April 8th, and he repossessed the car in May. And then it got repossessed by the bank because he couldn't make the payments either. My question to you is very simple. Show me you made April's payment, and then you have a case. You tell me, I can't. And I say, so what do you want from me? And you say, I think they deserve to have a car. So maybe you can convince Bird to buy him a car.
Your Honor.
If you breached your contract with Mr. Etty, you're not...
I didn't have no contract with him.
Yes, you did.
No, I didn't.
You just testified under oath that you did. You don't understand, Miss Flores. You testified under oath that you had a contract, a verbal contract with him, that you would make the payments on this car.
No, I had a verbal contract with my daughter.
You can't.
Why?
She's 17. She can't make a contract. Only he can make a contract. And you testified that you had a contract. The contract was with him, that the payments would be made, and April's payment wasn't made. He had an absolute right to take back the car. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
My credit now is totally ruined.
I just think his dad's a bad father.
When it was repossessed, it was in their possession.
You don't take care of his son or anything.
I gave it back like a fool. I gave it back to him.
And then he's lying under oath.
Yeah, he's not even telling the truth.
And then they just abused it.
They got by their dad.
He said mean things to you.
Yeah, because he was in a bad mood.
Did he threaten you?
Yes.
She was drunk. She wasn't really making any sense. So I told her to shut up.
A teen with a short fuse.
You're really irritated because you didn't go to the party.
But was he a ticking time bomb?
Did you see your boyfriend try to run anybody over that night?
I'm not sure.
He became charging at us at least twice, trying to hit us.
Judge Judy.
You were in a foul mood and you tried to run him over.
20-year-old warehouse stalker Danny Fiala is suing his girlfriend's friend, 21-year-old salesperson Josh Parton, for kicking dents into the side of his truck. Josh claims Danny tried to run him over.
All rise. Yeah, this is case number 226 on the calendar in the matter of Fiala versus Parton. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats.
You're home and your girlfriend goes out to a party. You get a call from her and she said, do me a favor, come pick me up. I'm ready to go home. So far, correct?
Correct.
You're really irritated because you didn't go to the party because you had to get up early to go to work in the morning, and so, but is this the girlfriend?
Yes.
But you got up, you got out of bed, you got into your car, and you went to pick her up at the party. The defendant was at the party. Wasn't your house, was it?
It was my house.
It was your house. According to your complaint, for some reason, he got angry and kicked and dented your car.
Correct.
How many times did he kick your car?
There's 2 visible dents.
He kicked it twice.
Correct.
Mr. Parton says that he did, in fact, put his hands on your car, but he put his hands on your car because you were in a really foul mood and you tried to run him over. And he put his hands on the hood of your car in order to sort of give himself a little leverage to bounce off the car so that you wouldn't kill him, right?
Exactly.
So it was self-defense that you put your hands on the car.
Correct.
And didn't cause any damage.
Correct.
Let's start with date, time, and place. The date this happened, sir.
August 2nd.
Time you got the call from your girlfriend.
2 a.m.
Was it the plan for her to call you to come pick you up?
Yes, the plan was for her to
Call you and you
Call
were
me.
going to come and get her.
Yeah.
This was an important party, I assume.
Not important to me.
Were you going to work the next day?
Yes.
What day of the week was this?
This was a Saturday morning.
And what kind of work were you doing on Sunday?
I'm a morning stalker.
A morning stalker?
Yeah, S-T-O-C-K, not A-L-K.
Be cute. Jessica, this was an important party?
Not that important.
Important enough to get him out of bed when he has to go to work in the morning to come and pick you up?
Yes.
Oh. You think twice about marrying this girl, right? Would you do me that favor? Just think twice about it. She's not wrapped too tight. Or at least pretty immature. She got you up 2 o'clock in the morning. You got into your car. It was a car?
Truck.
Truck. What kind of truck was it?
Ford Ranger.
And what did you do?
I was wearing just what I wear to bed, just football shorts, and I threw a sweatshirt on. I planned on going from my house to the party, drive her back up to her house, and then go down to work, so I had my shoes and stuff in the back of my truck.
What time do you have to be at work?
5 o'clock in the morning.
What did you plan on doing from 2 to 5?
Probably going over to her house and just waiting there.
Mm-hmm. Well, that gives you a little extra impetus. Okay. So, what happened when you got to the party?
I had showed up and...
How come you and I are the only ones who get it? I don't know either. We've been together too long. Go ahead.
And I didn't know where their house was, so I called Jen a couple of times because I believe her cell phone was out of service. So I called Jen to get the...
Who's Jen?
Jen is this lady over here. Called Jen a couple of times to get the instructions to the house. By the time I was talking to Jen, I mean, everybody went to the party to get drunk. So everybody there was drunk. So I was talking to her when she was drunk. She wasn't really making any sense. And then she brought up something about our relationship that was like nothing to do with what we were talking about. So
What did she say?
The fact that me and Jessica were having relationship problems. She said she didn't want to talk to me about it because she didn't like me right then or something. She said, even though I hate you, you know, I still have you come pick up Jessica or something like that. I forget what the actual words were.
How old are all these people? How old are you?
I'm 20.
And she?
18.
And this one?
18.
And this one?
21.
What state do you live in?
California.
What's the drinking age here?
21.
21.
21.
Any of these people drinking at your house?
I don't
Is
recall.
not an answer. Is not an answer.
Well, I'm sure that there's definitely people drinking there, but...
No, I said any of these underage people drinking at your house is what I asked you.
Not that I recall, no. I don't remember. I don't remember seeing either one of them with a cup in their hand.
Could you pick your pants up a little bit? I'm afraid they're going to fall off.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So that got heated, and I told Jen to shut up. I told her just plain out to be quiet. I
No,
told
you
her
didn't tell her to be quiet. You told her to shut up.
right. I told her to,
Did you use any expletives deleted before you said shut up?
yes.
That I believe.
Okay. Well,
And I'm impressed by the fact that you actually understood what I was saying. Go ahead.
so I told her to shut up, and by that time I'd hung up the phone and I found out where I was going. I pulled up, and there's probably, counting the two girls, there was probably 5 or 6 people like standing on the curb waiting there, and they all had drinks in their hands. I had my door unlocked.
No, he only had a drink in one hand. He was holding his pants up with the other. Go ahead.
So I pulled up. I had the door unlocked for Jessica because I saw she was standing on the curb. Before she could walk to the car, another guy jumped in front of her, opened up the door, and said, do you want to stick around and party with us? I said, I got to go to work in 2 hours, so I don't want to, and I really didn't want to hang out with the crowd in the first place. That's why I wasn't there.
Now, I want to know what you said. Did you say no, thank you, but thanks for the invitation? Or
No.
what did you? Come on.
They said, do you want to stick around? I'm like, no, I got to go to work in an hour.
Okay, that's what you said.
That's what I said.
Nothing more hostile than that.
No.
Okay, go ahead.
So somebody said, what's his problem? And I looked over to the side, and Jessica was pulling the guy away from my door because he was advancing into my truck. Somebody hit my window from this side, and then the kick started coming in here. Jessica got in the car. I revved my engine. I took off forward because I had never taken my foot off the clutch. I was there for probably maybe 15 seconds. So my first initial thing to do was make some noise, so like nobody's ripping in my car, and
They had already started to hit your car.
Yeah, well, I mean, ripping me out of my car and attacking me because I'm in my night clothes. I had.
Well, no, so far nobody had touched you. Is
Well,
that right?
they were advancing towards my car, and the other guy was pulling on my handle saying, open the door. Said,
You
"Do
just
want-"
added that in. Go ahead. Keep
Okay,
going.
I'm sorry. So she got in the car, I revved my engine, and then back out of there and went home. And that was that.
How do you know that he kicked your car twice?
I watched him do it.
Can I see the marks on your car?
I think it's funny that he said he pushed off the front of my truck because even though there is a dent on the front of my truck that looks like a footprint, there's also a dent on the rear window that's a footprint. So if he was putting his feet in 2 places that are 6 feet apart to kick off my truck.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He comes up the hill like this, and the tire goes over the curb, and I put my hands up to deflect it. That's right where my
I'll
hands
pay
would've
for
gone.
my other fender if you can do that
That's
too,
right
with
where
your hand.
That's right where it would have gone. If I can?
Yeah.
I can. I guarantee you I can.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Danny Fiala says his girlfriend's friend, Josh Parton, kicked dents into the side of his truck.
Now, your girlfriend, after she got off the phone with Mr.
Fiala.
She came in and told you that he had cursed at her. Is that right?
Correct.
You are?
Jennifer?
Jennifer. Jennifer and Jessica. I gotta keep, right? Gotta keep these straight. Step up here. Jessica.
Jennifer.
Jennifer. I feel like that. The hair the same. You're not twins, are you?
No.
When you told Mr. Parton that you had had a conversation with the plaintiff, what did you tell him that the plaintiff said to you?
I said that he didn't want to come up and that he told me that he was going to, like, beat me up or something. I don't really remember exactly, but I remember he was saying mean things to me.
He said mean things to you?
Yeah, because he was in a bad mood and I was bringing up stuff I shouldn't have brought up.
And did he curse at you?
I believe so.
And did he threaten you?
Yes.
And you told that to your boyfriend?
Yes.
Before he arrived, is that right?
Yes.
Where were you when you took the call from the plaintiff? Were you inside his apartment or outside?
I was walking down the walkway.
What were you doing?
Talking on the phone to him, because I knew he was about to pull up.
He called first. When he called you the first time, you were in the house.
Oh, yes. Well,
pay attention. Now, why were you walking outside when you answered the phone the second time?
To walk Jessica down to Danny's truck because I knew that he was pulling up.
Why were all these other people with you?
I asked Josh to come.
Why?
To walk with me and to introduce him. And then his friends just followed. I didn't ask them to come.
When you asked, so you just asked Josh to come to introduce him?
Yes.
Because you hadn't had any bad words with him yet, right?
Correct.
Actually, she wanted me to go down there and introduce myself and make him feel comfortable to want to come inside and stay, because she wanted Jessica to stay longer.
But by the time he got there, your girlfriend had already told you that he had cursed at her, correct?
Well, yeah, beforehand.
That he had threatened her, right?
Right.
That he made her feel bad, right?
That's what she told me, right? But at the same time...
Shh. And that he did all those things. And you're telling me that you greeted him when he pulled up in the truck and wanted to introduce yourself to him and make him feel comfortable so that he would come back to the party. Is that what you said?
Even he said that was the first thing that we said to him when he came up, right? I mean, because whether or not she's being mean to her on the phone, if she asked him to go down there and make someone feel comfortable to want to come in and chill, then why would I not do that?
She wasn't asking you to make him feel comfortable anymore after he cursed at her and threatened her that he was going to beat her up, Mr. Parton. What are you kidding? All right. Now, how many people came downstairs?
It was me, her, Jessica, and two of my other friends.
Two of your other friends. What are their names?
Josh.
Is not an answer.
Josh and Ryan.
How do you know Ryan?
He lives next door.
How old is he?
19 or 20.
And Josh, how do you know Josh?
Well, he was next door, too.
Josh work or go to school?
Doesn't do either.
How old is he?
At least 21, because he can buy alcohol. He's at least 21.
So you had two people there who could buy alcohol, you and Josh, is that right?
And many other, probably everyone else.
No, you just told me that there were, I asked you who was there. You told me. One,
no, you
two,
said who went down
three,
to the car.
Who went downstairs to the car.
Right.
Well, that's what I'm asking.
There was more people inside, though, is what I'm saying.
There were you, 21, the owner of the premises where the alcohol was served. Two, Josh, not the owner of the premises where the alcohol was served, and two minors.
Right.
Who had both been drinking, right?
Yes.
What were you drinking?
Beer.
What else? Because you hesitated for a minute. What else?
Well, just beer.
Why would you hesitate if I said, what are you drinking? You said...
Because I had to think about it. I don't remember. I've drinking other stuff. That one night was just beer.
What were you drinking?
Beer.
Anything else?
I had a Bloody Mary.
So there was other liquor there other than just beer. Now, why don't you explain to me, Mr. Parton, how it came about that you put your hands on the plaintiff's car?
Well, that's funny that you asked, because that's the last thing that he forgot to mention in his little statement, was that after she did get inside the car, he backed up and then came charging at us at least twice, trying to hit us. His tire came over the curb and tried to hit us.
Really?
So, like you said in the beginning, if someone's coming at you, I'm going to put my hands out to deflect myself, and that happens to be on the right side. On the, if you look on the picture, I was standing on my sidewalk. It goes down like this. If he comes up the hill like this, then if he's come and the tire goes over the curb and I put my hands out to deflect it, that's right where my hands would have gone.
I'll pay for my other fender if you can do that
that's
too.
Right where that's right where it would have gone. If I can?
Yeah.
I can. I guarantee you I can.
Step up. Did you see your boyfriend try to run anybody over that night?
He did like a burnout. Sorry.
What's a burnout?
Like you rev the engine, kind of, to like get them away from his truck.
Yes.
And then he went forward, and then he reversed, and we left.
He went forward?
At us.
At them?
Well, he was, I don't know, revving. It was like on a hill, and it'd stick.
Did you see anyone surround the car when you got in the car and make a move towards your boyfriend to try to get him out of the car?
Yes.
Who did that?
I'm not sure. I didn't know them.
Well, there weren't that many people down there, madam.
I just remember I pulled one guy out of the truck because I wanted to get in the passenger seat. I don't know who he was, though.
Who was that?
I don't have no idea. I don't have any idea.
Well, it's either Josh or Ryan.
I don't remember. It wasn't me. I mean, I'm the one that's being sued. If someone else is climbing in their car, you should be suing them, right?
Mm-hmm. How much did you have to drink?
Shoot. Honestly, I don't remember.
And how was it that Josh and Ryan accompanied you outside?
Maybe they wanted to help me introduce myself to him. Maybe they were happy to just be out smoking a cigarette and someone pulls up and... I honestly don't remember. I didn't tell if what you're looking for is if I asked them to accompany me. That's not. I did not ask them to accompany me. I swear to God, I didn't.
Maybe she did.
Well, I did. I know I didn't.
Was she crying when she spoke to you about how nasty he was on the phone?
Nope.
Just annoyed.
The last thing that she said was not he's calling me names. The last thing that she said to me was go out there, introduce yourself to him, and make him feel comfortable so that Jessica will want to stay longer.
Somebody who just cursed her and threatened to beat her up? That's what she said.
That's what she said.
She must have had a lot to drink.
Or just wanted her friend to stay.
Can I see the estimate for this dent on the side of your car? Mr. Parton, there was a big party going on. Everybody at the party had had a little too much to drink. I'm not saying that I condone somebody revving up their car, but I believe that your girlfriend told you that she had been insulted by the plaintiff. He's the only sober one there. He's coming there for the sole purpose of picking up his girlfriend. He hasn't been partying all night. His car got damaged. He says it got damaged as a result of you kicking it. You say it got damaged as a result of you putting your hands on the car. I have to make a judgment as to who I believe and whether or not this damage to this car, in my judgment, can be done or was done by somebody who was pushing off with their hand or somebody who kicked it. I vote for the kick. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,800. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I think he's made.
Obviously, that dent wasn't put there by a hand pushing off my truck, so.
I think he was scared the whole time.
Just don't hang around with these kind of people.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Daggett versus Martinez. Step forward, please.
Teacher Marcy Daggett is suing dog groomer Angelina Martinez for the value of a Yorkshire Terrier. Marcy says while Angelina was pet sitting, the dog ran away.
Miss Daggett, I assume you knew Miss Martinez before you asked her to dog sit for your two Yorkies. Is that right?
This was the third time that she'd watched them, and
she'd watched them before, so
right.
You brought the dogs over there?
Yes.
For how long?
It was an indefinite time.
What do you mean indefinite? I don't understand.
Because our dogs had been barking and bothering the neighbors, and we weren't really sure what we should do with our dogs or how to train them or what to do with them. And Angelina was going to watch them while we decided what to do with them.
And according to your complaint, one of the dogs got out. Or one of the dogs is gone, lost, stolen, dug a hole under the fence, according to the defendant, and is gone. And you want to be compensated for that dog.
Yes, Your Honor.
Miss Martinez?
Yes.
What happened to her dog?
At 4:30, I let the dog and two of my dogs outside to go potty, and 5:15, I brought them back inside, and I couldn't find Zoe. And she's real small, so sometimes she runs in and, hides underneath the bed or under there. So I thought she had run in the house. And I had to go to my son's back to school night, so we left real quick and then came back and started looking for Zoe. And it was about an hour time lapse from that. And we started looking for her, we realized that she wasn't in the house at all, or in the backyard.
So when you didn't see her, you went out anyway?
Yeah.
It's such an easy case. They should all be this easy. How much did you pay for Zoe?
$850.
You don't have a bill of sale, do you?
I have the canceled check.
Okay, I'd see it. How old was she?
Just over a year, about a year and 3 months.
Okay, you want to explain to me why, Miss Martinez, you don't feel as if you're responsible minimally for what Miss Daggett paid for her dog?
Well, I have a copy of the purchase agreement of her dog, and there is no price for it.
Well, let me see it. Go ahead.
And so I offered to replace the dog with another dog of greater value. At that time, she was not ready for another dog.
I have a check dated the same day as the puppy sale agreement. The check is a canceled check for $850.
I also have a bill of sale for the male that she bought the same day, and it says $680.
Well, that may be, but females are usually more expensive.
Right.
So you mean it's just the cost of the dog that you question, is that right?
Right.
Okay, well, don't question it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $850, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I have all cement in my backyard, and there's no way it could have dug out.
Which, giving 4 different stories,
I thought I was doing her a favor.
Makes me kind of think something must have gone wrong that she didn't want me to know.
I don't think it was irresponsible.
She was just like the baby of the family. And that was kind of sad because at the time we thought that she was pregnant.
It's a horrible accident.